Welcome back, brothers, ye fellow knights, ye fellow watchers on the web, for the writing is bad and full of errors, and now our watch begins. And what are we watching this time?
Well, we have already watched it.
We have already watched it. Wheel of Time, episode 4. Okay.
Before we begin, because there's a lot of people in the comments who don't know our names.
Yes.
I'm Oz.
He's on the right.
Shad.
Shad.
I'm right.
So, you're usually referred to as the guy on the
I'm
left.
usually referred to guys left, but no, I'm far right. Well, I mean, like when we're sitting here. No, I'm like when we're sitting here. I'm on the
He is
right.
on my right.
Yeah.
But you're also called...
The fat guy in red. The fat guy.
but glorious, but you're very based, that they love you, insufferable. You get the whole spectrum of reaction.
Well, that's the thing, is that I'm on the spectrum, so...
So it makes sense. It's just great.
And today I'm drinking water, because I have a bit of a migraine myself. So
There we go. And of course, we are joined by not Ben.
Not Ben.
This is your name now,
That's
just not
my
Ben.
title.
No,
Not Ben,
his
right
name's
there.
Nathan. His name's Nathan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to quickly pause for a small thing. It was in a different view angle than what we usually do, and it was triggering me, so now it's back to normal. Okay, we're good. All right, so I have a couple of follow-up items to talk about before we get into episode 4, and then, of course, a more broader discussion about episode 4, as we usually do, and then into the specifics. Okay, so following up on episode 3, I actually wanted to go a bit further into that dark friend girl sword scene, because it's really bad. It's worse than what we even mentioned, okay? Because, like, think about what was her plan, okay? She wanted to capture them and take them to the Dark One.
Yep.
And so she takes them to a room that she was able to lock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was already established that's where Matt and Rand were going to sleep.
Yep.
So all she needed to do was
Lock
say
the door,
nothing.
yeah.
They go to sleep, lock the door, knock them out in their sleep, or anything like that. There was a vast number of options she had available. And yet she decides to reveal she's a dark friend to Rand, which just... What? Like, it just makes everything worse.
There's another one. It was Rand fights a Trolloc, runs from a girl.
Yeah, like, and making a book comparison, for instance, in the book, there's a moment where Rand and Matt need to hide in a loft of a barn in a town, and they get found out by a dark friend. And you know what they do?
What?
They wrestle the dark friend down and tie her up, and like, you know.
That makes more sense, Shad.
Yeah, it's like they're threatened, and they actually have some balls and defend themselves.
Huh.
In this one, she's a girl with a sword. Run!
Run for your life.
Like, and I'm not saying that she can't threaten them in any way. I've already addressed the way she was able to threaten them, but I'm saying in the books, the guys had way more balls and were willing to take on people that threatened them.
Yeah.
One of the defenses people give about Rand is that, I don't know if this will be a spoiler, because I don't know if they will adapt it into the show, but in the books, this is slightly a bit of a spoiler about Rand's character, but not really. But basically, Rand develops a reluctance to harm women.
Okay.
Okay, but the thing is, and people are trying to say that's why Rand didn't want to fight her, because he reluctant to harm women. Earlier on in the books, he didn't. Like, he full-on decapitates a woman in one of the books, like, okay, earlier on. So, early on, Rand doesn't have that issue. He develops that issue, okay, particularly when certain more confronting things hit him later on. So that's a defense that doesn't work either. But the actual plan of this girl is bafflingly dumb.
Yep.
So, the episode 3 is utter garbage. Thing is, though, well, we'll get to episode 4, okay? I wanted to follow up on some of the discussion comments we talked about in the polygamy thing, that they might be taking away the polygamy element. So I've been able to read the actual quote from the showrunner now, and he did say no polygamy, but he then went on to say that he's more interested in polyamory.
Of course.
And so, basically what that's meaning, instead of so many girls in love with one guy, they're going to throw a bit of lesbian action in there as well.
Lesbian, gay.
Yeah, and so everyone is going to be into everyone in that relationship. Now, some people are saying, well, 2 of the people, girls were really good friends, and so... But they weren't... they weren't full on bi or anything.
Yeah.
And that also created more interesting conflict because they were both in love with the same man. What are they going to do? But now if they're going to be in love with each other as well,
Doesn't matter.
it's not as much of an issue now, is it? It's just let's just have whole big orgies.
Everyone's touching parts.
Yep.
Yep. It's a big dance with no pants.
So that seems like where they're going to be pushing it. And again, like question, really good question here for the showrunners. Is that because they legitimately think that will improve the story? Or is it because you just want to portray your more liberal view of relationships and sex and stuff, and you want to inject a more modern perspective into a show that's already got pre-established lore, story, characters, fan base, and you're showing you don't give a friggin' crap about the story that's already there, the sensibilities, the standards that's in the stories, the fan base or anything like that, because you care about your opinions and views and ideology and all that crap more, and your view of liberal sex and whatever, and you want to change someone else's work to fit what you want. That is friggin' crap.
This might be contrary to what I regularly say, but I think it's that.
You think it's
I
that?
think it's woke crap. Like, I'm always saying it's woke crap.
Contrary?
But I'm agreeing with that because it sounds pretty based. Yes, they have no qualms about changing whatever they like to fit their narrative.
Not whatever. I think they are trying to change what they think they can get away with, or they feel is okay. Like, this isn't a big thing in the story, so we can modify that, and the larger story is intact. I disagree. I think some of these changes that they think have been little actually have vastly more implications and effect on the world and
Okay, but
everything.
what so far have they done that hasn't gone in line with their politics?
Well, I mean, they're showing the Warders really protecting the Aes Sedai in battle, and that the Warders are essential for
Yeah,
their
but
role.
they're still
and so
second-
I'm glad about that.
They're
And
still
there's
second fiddle.
no, actually,
They
in
are.
episode 4, they show far more of a partnership relationship. The Warders are actually counselling the Aes Sedai, saying we need to think about this or worried about that. Lan goes in to discuss with Moraine about who's going to be the dragon and everything. And Moraine doesn't end up, criticizing or judging Lan for losing the thing. She takes on as much responsibility. She says, "Your losses are my losses, and my losses are your losses."
Okay.
They actually are showing a really good partnership relationship between the Aes Sedai and Warders.
Okay, anything else?
I think we'll come to some more specifics throughout this, but I think there are some examples here and there. Okay, but I'm not saying they haven't subverted certain things for an agenda. I think it's pretty clear. Anyone. The girls being able to be the dragon might be a female and stuff like that. That, they don't want the girls to be playing second fiddle, and they don't realise the girls weren't really playing second fiddle anyway. Granted, they were in the wake of the Ta'Veren, okay, but they're playing very crucial roles, especially Nynaeve. If they think Nynaeve is a lesser character with what she ends up doing later in the book, holy crap, no. She does world-changing things, Nynaeve. Like, there is one big thing that her name will be written down in the history of this world forever, and will probably be more famous than Perrin or Matt.
Well, thanks for the spoiler.
I have not told you what it is.
We have just said, so now I know this girl's going to live until she does something crazy.
That's in the books. We don't know what they'll do.
Oh, we don't know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think you can take pretty much assurance that, for instance, that's what I mean. They're not going to... I would find it... I wouldn't put it past them, but I'm like 99% sure they wouldn't kill off one of the main 5. But I think there's going to be larger things that they're going to try and stay true to. And who the dragon is,
Yeah.
I think the episode 4 even confirmed, because episode 4, and I guess we're getting into some of the episode 4 preamble and everything, even though there are some specific things I want to talk about, they try and basically hint that the dragon could be...
Egwene.
No, first it's like, is it Matt? Is it Egwene? Is it Nynaeve? Like, actually establish, it might be either one of these people.
What about Rand?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it? What about Perrin?
Is it Rand?
What about Perrin?
What about Perrin, actually? Good point. He seems a bit too mopey to be the dragon.
You don't know.
He's shadowed.
So, I see why... It's funny, if you really wanted to make the mystery of who is the dragon, all right, you didn't need to let the characters know, because their reaction to it is still not true to what it should be for the level of that. But you could have had Moraine and Lan have a conversation separate to them about, and then they could have actually established more of the seriousness of the dragons. Like, Lan could say, do we want to tell them? And Moraine's like, no, we can't tell them. They'll run away or something like that. They might commit suicide. Like, the dragon is... And she could actually say, like, the dragon is prophesied to have a torturous existence and everything. They do not want to know. But then, that establishes the audience, there's going to be a dragon.
There's going to be a dragon.
And then we could still have the mystery, and they wouldn't have had that dumb thing where she just blurts out, oh, yeah, one of you the dragon, by the way, come with me. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's what they want. They want the mystery, and they could have had the mystery. And I think the mystery, honestly, is going to be working well for a lot of viewers. Like, you're wondering who the dragon is.
I mean,
that didn't exist in the book. The book is pretty darn clear who the dragon is from the very first few chapters. And if you can't figure it out, it's it's dropped almost explicitly, but not like said. But the implication is so clear, and so there's no, that mystery isn't there. This, as to which is better, knowing who the dragon is, not knowing who the dragon is, it's going to be up for debate. But if the mystery is holding people's attention in the show, you got to give it, like, all right, that might be working to keep people watching.
Yeah, but I like your idea more, Shad, of them still not knowing, because it makes more sense in the world context of them not running away or whatever, or like being very underwhelmed with the big implication of one of you are going to be a dragon. But I think as the audience, we kind of should know, because then that's kind of like the whole reason why we're watching right now, is who's it going to be?
Yeah, but there are other things that's keeping my interest, and we'll get to specifics. But yeah, it does make me really wonder if the mystery might be working in the show's favour. Okay? The thing is, though, this could be where it's actually wrong. They might be leaning in too heavily to try and pretend the dragon might be this person or this person, and mess up some of the world building or those characters' progression to try and misdirect the audience.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't want to give the spoiler because you guys don't know, but man, to avoid reading comment sections in internet, because nearly everyone knows who the dragon is. I'm surprised you guys still don't know.
Well, I only read the comments that have Oz written in them, so...
Oh no, now someone's going to say, hey Oz, the dragon is X. You're done now. And now that I've mentioned it to them...
But when you do it, make it not be the actual person.
Oh yeah, like, hey Oz, the dragon is Lan.
Or I think the dragon is Lan now.
See? Like, now I want everyone to throw, like...
Oh, damn it.
Who could
what
it be?
If the real dragon is the ones we made along the way?
There's a big event in... Actually, before we get to the big event, all right? Overall views on episode 4. Now, I want to preface something, okay? We've been very clear about if we see something that is bad, we have been calling out as bad, all right? And I've been doing my very best to not be biased. I have a love for the books, but I've been trying to give the show credit where it deserves.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when I watch something, I just watch with a casual thing and I'm not being critical and stuff, and I was like, yeah, kind of enjoyable. And then when I rewatch it, I see a lot of problems. Really happened with like episode 2, where I noticed a big problem in my second viewing that I did in the first. I'm like, oh, I know. Episode 4 is a very different experience for me, because on my rewatch, I noticed a whole lot more that they did right, and I ended up liking the episode even more than my first viewing. And I have notes. I'm going to explain exactly why. These aren't just me trying to defend the show. No, you've seen me rip the show apart when it deserves it. Well, I'm also going to give it credit when it deserves it as well. It's not to say there aren't anything that I'm like, that what's going on in episode 4. Spoilers, but of course you should already be aware of this. Logain is gentled at a different time in the books. You see him only briefly in book 1, and obviously this is not going to be in the show, so this isn't a spoiler in the show, but it's Rand that actually ends up seeing Logain. They get to Camelin. Rand decides to go for a bit of a walk, and he runs into the Aes Sedai escorting Logain through the city. Either they're taking out or putting into the car or something like that, and he gets the impression of Logain in this cage, and his impression is interesting. And I didn't really get this impression in the show, but it's like Logain was in this cage and he was technically locked up, but Rand's impression was that he looked regal and like all calm and in authority and stuff, and it was like he even gave the impression that the Aes Sedai were kind of serving him and escorting him where he wanted.
I thought they were trying to pull a Jesus thing with him, subconsciously, consciously, either one. But I think that they've tried to make this guy look a bit like Jesus.
See, to me, I don't think that at all.
Okay.
Because having a beard and long hair is just a look. I mean, is Gandalf Jesus?
No, he doesn't have black hair. But here's the thing, right? Look at the clothes that everyone else is wearing compared to this one dragon dude.
Yeah.
Everyone, like, think about Matt Tom and Perrin, all of them are wearing basically almost modern clothing. This is the only guy wearing robes that I've seen.
Well, I would want to see what other clothes are from Gildan and stuff.
From where?
Well, Gildan is the kingdom that he's invading, and he then gets the king onto his side and stuff.
Well, we see the armor they're wearing. But we don't really see the clothing.
Yeah, and cool castle. Do you see the castle?
I didn't get to see the castle that much. I saw the bird's eye view of it, but that's it.
Okay, so I guess we are going back onto the broader things about this episode, right? So I rewatched this episode, and honestly, my first viewing, I would be like 6. You maybe could push me to a 7. I rewatched it again, being very watching closely on all the little things. And there are many scenes that are doing multiple things to build character, world building that's being true to the lore, and the characters come off in a positive light. There are multiple scenes doing that. There is great action, and if I judge this on a self-contained thing, not with the changes of the book, it's actually a brilliant episode. I have to acknowledge it.
It was better than the rest of them. I wouldn't say brilliant for me, because I'm just used to... I don't watch a show unless it's getting 10 out of 10s.
Yeah.
So I'd give this episode 5 or 6.
Well, you're right. If I was to compare episode 4 to, say, one of the best Game of Thrones episodes...
Not even one of the best. Just a middle episode from season 2.
But if I do compare best to best, maybe it's because we're coming from such crap that this episode is such a... water in drought. Yeah.
Such a gem.
Because the writing, I felt there were good parts, especially in a lot of these scenes, but maybe it's just a little above average. It's passable, nothing terrible in it. Because there was only a couple of times where I did get oh, that was a great line. I didn't get it in every instance, but there are some episodes, like in Game of Thrones, some of the best, where all the writing is just
But this is really good. How much of it is from the book versus the show? Because the part where she says the thing in the old tongue and then Lan translates it for her? That, for me, was that really, that hits me deep, man. But how is that from the book directly, or is that from the show?
I do not remember it being in the book at all.
Okay, because that's the separation.
Yeah,
who'd it come from?
There are, so perhaps if I was to be trying to be objective, comparing it to some of the best show writing I've seen, maybe it would be an 8, okay? It wouldn't be a 9. But there were times when there were specific lines that were just holy crap, that's good. Tom's line.
Yes, I was based.
Nothing more dangerous than a man that knows the past.
I would completely agree. Is that in the book?
I don't remember it being in the book either.
Okay.
That's the thing. I think there are some legitimate gems that have come from the show creators, which shows that they are capable of pulling some good stuff now and then. We saw slight signs, and I did point them out in episode 3, where it's hey, that was an alright line, maybe there's hope. And this episode actually showed a lot more of that, and we're going to give the examples. This isn't just me trying to simp for the show or anything. I hoped the show was good, but as a big fan, if they did anything bad, and I hope I've been able to prove a track record, or so far, of calling out crap when it's crap, and then perhaps you'll be able to see me call out some good stuff, and I can demonstrate why it's good.
The comments have been saying a few things. The comments disagree with me a lot, right? But they have been saying, Shad, you're being a bit charitable.
Well, see, I've also been seeing comments saying that I'm way too critical, and so that kind of I think I'm in a good midpoint.
I think everyone has their own opinion.
It's that as well, but this is also why I think I particularly like that we have multiple views on our reviews.
But one of these episodes, can we please get Nathan's opinion? Just one.
You do. Each one you get my opinion. You look at me, I say my word, and then we watch the rest. Watch Mum and Dad fight.
All right. The Jesus thing. What was your thoughts on it?
I actually did get an impression of on that.
Really?
I did get the impression of...
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Because...
All right. You got a Jesus impression from him.
He was going to attack him,
yeah,
and then he was but you can be my friend, even my enemy.
You can be my friend.
Yeah.
I like that about it. I like that they weren't making him into a full villain.
I like that too.
I thought it was really good that they're showing Logain with more moral complexity, and that is not wholly evil, which adds conflict, and you're wondering, does he deserve to be gentled or not? Or and that's actually good complex writing in terms of character depiction, because it'll be so easy to just depict him as the villain, you know, or is he pretending to be a dragon, and do I want to justify there's actually a lot of nuance in this episode, which was surprising.
No, I liked the fact that there was more of he's not just going to kill this guy, and he's like, no, I'll take the better path. But I did still feel the Jesus metaphor they were going for.
But I don't know if that was their intent, or if it's just because it's a guy with a beard and like tanned skin and a robe.
Yeah, I don't want us to see. That's kind of my point. I don't want us to immediately think anyone with a beard, long hair, and robe is just is the same. Like it's Jesus metaphor and stuff. Because in a mostly medieval setting like this, it'd be kind of common to have longer beards and hair and stuff.
How many of the other characters do though?
But they're all young.
Yeah, okay, but like. There was the guy with the twin axes. He had longer hair, but nowhere near as long as the other guy. And everyone else is wearing more modern clothing. That's my point, you know? This is the first guy I've seen wearing robes.
I mean, we'll have to wait until we see some of the other cultures, because there should be robes in other cultures and stuff.
What was the one you were talking about?
Gildan. And so one of the great things about Wheel of Time is the cultures around the world are very distinct.
Very diverse.
Well, now they'll be diverse, yeah. But they were diverse already, but in terms of a diverse range of cultures with their own ethnic identity, cultural background and stuff, and there was like full, you know, representation of inspiration of different human cultures and races and things. But now, as Tom said, it's hard to tell where anyone's from apart from accent and dress nowadays.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be
accent and dress,
except if the country was already established in the book as being mostly black, like the seafaring people, they're all black in the book. Guaranteed they're all, like, there won't be a single white person. So much for diversity, right?
Well, that's my point, is that they want to represent the West the way the West is represented in the modern day.
Yeah, not in the actual historical record.
But just think about historically, right? Like, let's say you're in Britain. How far do you have to go before you see someone of colour? You have to go very far, even in
the medieval period. It was a rare. This is funny that black people do appear in medieval things, but it was out of the ordinary and rare. The further down you go in Europe, the more common it becomes, and so there's some actually really interesting art,
like the Herald,
depicting black people in medieval times. But in terms, it gets rarer and rarer the further you go away from where.
They're more common in France.
Yeah, France, and also just around that, like you'll find
Italy.
a lot. Well, you'll find a lot more in like the Byzantine Empire and stuff.
Italy and stuff, because they were
Italy,
in Africa
exactly.
Yeah.
But much harder if you go up north, especially across an ocean, well, not a full ocean, but you know, the Channel to Britain and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's even an account of like. I might get it wrong. It was from a good Metatron video where he talks about, you know, black people in medieval times, and it was like a Roman emperor in Britain when he sees a black person the first time, he thinks he's looking at like a devil or something because it was so rare that he'd never seen it before. Anyway.
Well, then again, like they see, like back in the day when they saw us for the first time, they thought, "Is that a ghost?" Like, yes, we are. I'm Casper. I'm friendly though.
Okay, so I guess we'll go into the more specifics now, because we've already started with Loghain. Cool castle. It's a very medieval castle. Like seriously, if someone was coming into the show for the first time, watching it, would they think this is medieval fantasy or Renaissance fantasy from what the show has depicted? Of course it would be medieval. The clothing, the building tech, the weapon tech, it's got castles, it's got medieval armour. I mean, the only thing out of place is Tom Maryland right now with his guitar and duster.
Yeah, that was...
Dude, he's straight from Western.
Yeah.
Straight from Western.
Just awful.
And it could work if it wasn't so anachronistic, you know? If you had a proper bard, like a lute, you know?
Yeah, well, that's what Tom was. Tom played flute, lute, and, you know, very kind of medieval things. And he was well, not really, but he was a court bard, a travelling troubadour and stuff. Before we go chronologically, because the biggest and most important, I think, to be discussed happens at the very end. And so I say let's discuss that right off the bat.
Okay.
Because, you know... I don't know. I hope you guys will stay for the whole discussion. But look, this is gonna.
It's gonna be a long one.
I've got notes. This is 4 pages.
4.
So if you think I didn't watch this carefully, right? I've got 4 pages of study notes on this.
It took us like 2 hours to get through that episode, didn't it?
Yeah. Pause. Writing down. All right. So the big thing. Nynaeve has an explosion of power at the end, healing.
So we're going in
everyone.
chronological order.
That's
No,
right.
you
So we're jumping to the big one first, just because it'll take a while, because that's the very last, and it's going to take us a while to get there.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about it now. First off, what is your guys' impression of this?
Okay, it just annoys me that she has this explosion of healing power and heals everyone in the room.
Okay.
That annoyed me.
Why did it annoy you?
It's just like, where did that come from?
Okay.
I thought she was a herbalist.
So
and
you did not think she could channel then?
I didn't think she could channel. I didn't think she should heal everyone in the room, just like that.
Yep.
It's like, where's the stakes?
Okay.
I liked it. I think it brought more... Well, because she came into the room, she saw Lan was obviously done. Which, by the way, was a very, visually,
They did it well. That blood... I
felt it. I was like, oh.
And when I saw it, I was like, holy crap, Lan is dead. Everyone's dead. They're all dead.
Until Deus Ex Machina.
Well, that's what I want to talk about.
I disagree, I think it worked well, because before this is where we've seen other characters presented that they've got power. And obviously, the question on the show right now is who is the dragon? And so I think this is one of the ways of us kind of... And as well, later, we see Logan being like, as bright as the sun. Is that what
So,
called?
As well, see, there's some people who hate this because they think they're setting up Nynaeve as the dragon now.
Yeah.
And they think that's confirmed by their your power is but a pinprick compared to the raging sun that will be the dragon reborn. And then when Logain sees it's like a raging sun. Interjecting with an additional comment here, there is a possible point of criticism in that Logain is actually seeing Nynaeve's weaves at this point. This could be the case, but my honest impression upon watching it twice, I didn't get that. In the book, when the Aes Sedai are making their weaves, there are actually physical manifestations that people can see that are byproducts of the weaves, even though they can't see the weaves themselves. It's like when an Aes Sedai works with fire or shoots a fireball, people can see the fireball, but not the weaves that caused it. So I just assumed there was actually a literal light emanating from Nynaeve that was a byproduct of the level of power she was channeling. In terms of energy just manifesting in proportion to the level of power you're channeling, that's actually not in the books. And if the show is actually doing this, this would be a change from the books that I would need to think about how I feel. And it could be even a larger error of Logain seeing the weaves. We will have to wait and see if this is confirmed. That is obviously and overtly the show trying to think it's probably going to be Nynaeve. I actually think the it's hard to say this without spoiling. I think it's just him saying
I'm wrong. I'm not the dragon.
Yeah, perhaps. But it's hard for me to say this because of spoilers. Because you might disagree, I could say this much without spoiling, but then you disagree with me. But then if I try and qualify it, I need to explain a spoiler to qualify it to prove that there's validity to what I'm saying. This episode has actually convinced me more that they're not going to change the dragon.
Okay.
Significantly so.
Can I just go back to the point, for me, if I see all of, some really important characters, basically dying, and they all get healed instantly, that kind of takes away from the stakes for me. Even if there is magic. I
get what you're saying, okay? And so, it's interesting. I think they could have set up Nynaeve's abilities and powers better in the show so it doesn't come off for as much Deus Ex Machina. It wouldn't be as much of a surprise, but there is that Deus Ex Machina thing. The thing is, though, if you're aware of the books, what Nynaeve does here can be justified, but with some issues that I would have and other people have. One, okay, a couple of things. So now you know Nynaeve can channel.
Yeah.
In the books, Nynaeve has actually been channeling for a good while already.
Okay, they never show that.
They don't show at all. And what it is, it's in her herbs and poultices. I tried to hint that where I said her, herbs and poultices and things, they work a little bit better than what they really should.
Someone also commented, an actual herbalist commented on what you said with her cutting the thing, is that plants heal a lot easier if it's a sharp, clean cut rather than getting pulled.
But who frigging cares if it's a tiny flower? You reckon there's tiny flowers?
That's the thing, though.
No, get out of this with this.
The commenter followed up.
Don't give me this petty crap. I'm going to go out there, find a flower, and crush it just to piss you off.
She's a local herbalist. She's getting ingredients from around her, so she'll
think that's a bit too far?
I don't think that person watching right now feels a bit hurt.
She'll want, since she's a local herbalist, she'll want her local herbs to replenish, right?
But is this her local herbs? Is she near her home?
She was when she did it.
No, she wasn't. She was off of a
Well, still, force of habit, fine. It's like, someone else might need
It's a flower.
It makes more sense.
It's a tiny flower. Come on.
I like flowers. I think flowers are pretty cool. What's your problem with flowers?
You are a flower.
Well, you know what? I guess I am. Now let me spread my pollen everywhere.
have to take it further, don't you?
Of course, until everyone stops, I will keep going.
All right, so Nynaeve, okay, she has actually been channeling for a while unknown. Nynaeve is older, and so she touched the power, made the connection naturally, because she was one of those people that would have touched it without being able to avoid it. And it would have been when she was really sick. Usually you get sick, you fever, and you're going on.
Oh, that's what's happening with Matt.
What?
Matt's getting sick.
Well, that's not a spoiler, because that's...
I wasn't saying spoiler, I'm saying thanks for showing me.
Well, because that was actually told by Tom Merrilin, showing all the signs, like being
morning
sick.
sickness, no more... Maybe he's pregnant.
Being moody. Yeah, he's pregnant.
Maybe that. I wouldn't put it past the show.
So, okay, but the thing is, the viewers will have no idea about that. They didn't clue on to... And so, it would have been good if actually... I reckon when Nynaeve was tending to Moraine, she should have been able to mostly heal Moraine from the poultice, and Lan should have said, how did you do that? And she's like, I'm a wisdom, it's what I do. It's like, no. She had Trolloc poison. No natural, herb can heal Trolloc poison. And then she's like, then Nynaeve, she would brush it off, because it's like, well, you just haven't had good wisdoms then, have you? But that
would have been a great line. I would have liked that.
That's a slight clue that something is going on with Nynaeve, right? That she has, because what's happening is she's actually working the one power. She has this good affinity. Well, what you really see, this isn't a spoiler. It's shown in the show. She has an affinity with healing. And so the show doesn't set this up. But if you're aware of the books, I was actually more than happy to be on board with it, except the level. This is like this level of competent power, like healing heaps of people. There's again a couple of caveats. There's this thing in the Wheel of Time and the Power about reaching your potential, and so. Aes Sedai, when they can sense a woman is channeling, they can also sense what their end game power level will be. And again, this isn't actually reflected in the show, so it's like not really a spoiler because it's in the book, but because in the show, Moraine doesn't know what Egwene's full power level is, because Lan asks her, "Is Logain more powerful?" She's like, "Maybe, I don't know." Well, actually, no, she wouldn't know because they can't sense the power level of men. So actually, that might she wouldn't really definitively know, but they can know between women. It's like that woman is going to be way stronger than you. Okay. And so the thing is, Egwene is not a really spoiler because it's already some of the show is exceptionally powerful. Egwene, in terms of her potential in her max power level, that Moraine actually was able to sense at the very beginning, is stronger than any living Aes Sedai at the moment.
Whoa. Okay, so maybe she could have done this.
No, that's Egwene.
Oh.
Nynaeve. This isn't a spoiler because it's shown in the show that she has massive power. In the book, Nynaeve is basically that times 10 to 100.
Oh.
Nynaeve is actually next level powerful.
She's like female dragon.
Well, they don't make any connection between her and the dragon in the book, but there's some really great dynamics about Nynaeve needing to learn how to use her power, because this is why it doesn't. This is where if you're a fan of the books, you're not going to really like it, because that's just their potential. When people just start learning to channel Nynaeve and Egwene, they cannot channel the level of what they could reach. They're nowhere near as powerful as their endgame. Right here, they're basically showing Nynaeve almost at her endgame level, and it's like, no. She needs to work, like in the book, she's supposed to work really hard towards it, and then she gets next level OP, right? But here it's just... So I don't know how they're going to... It could be a one-off, and then she has trouble, and they could still do it that she has to learn and progress. But this was like, oh boy, they are ramping up the power progression pretty fast. Because I was like, oh gosh, you know, like...
You did make that noise. You went, I didn't do it. I'm not a crook.
And so... People who are trying to, like, there are, people worried that this is making Nynaeve the dragon and everything like that. It's actually, this is just them being true to Nynaeve's proper power level. It would throw people for a 6.
So, like, this dragon, is it a good dragon or is it a bad dragon?
Well, it's a person.
I know that, but, like, is it a...
Well, the book actually does it. The book tries to make that a bit ambiguous. You don't know if it's going to be good or whether you're going to be good. Well, you know it's going to be a he because it was a boy in the book. If he's going to be good or bad.
Okay.
And there are even some warning signs along the story that you like, what's going to be going on here, you know? Because the prophecies aren't wholly good. And there's actually a bit of a mix-up in the prophecy in episode 4, where I think it's actually near the beginning with Logain, where he says...
more likely to break it as likely to...
He says that he's just as likely to save the world or break... But, yeah, so Logain says, just as likely to save the world as break it. In the book, it's actually, to my memory, it's both. He will both save the world and break the world, which is why the whole thing about the dragon everyone's really worried about, because there are still prophesied horrible things that will happen, and it's not just, he might. It's like, I think bad things will happen with all these things as well.
Our world has something similar in mind.
Actually, yes. And so, look, that's a small thing, and it does make me wonder, like, how serious people are going to be regarding the prophecy, because there's already been conversation that they don't really all believe the prophecies and stuff, and it's going to be losing an element there.
I had that question as well, like, in terms of the reincarnation aspect of it. How many people actually, like, believe that in the world?
This is what I believe Robert Jordan said about this, right? There's no religion in the world because religion is objectively proven in the world.
Okay.
Like you have Aes Sedai using magic. It's entwined with the mythology, the wheel and weaves. If you want to know if the wheel is weaving the web of reality, well, there are women who can literally manipulate those weaves, and they can see them and stuff. The whole wheel of time being spun into the world and out of it and stuff is basically confirmed.
Okay.
And just world-building lore, I'm not sure if, again, they'll be in the show or not, there are people who are actually identified in the history of the world in their multiple lives. They're great heroes. One, we hear her name, Birgitta is a great hero who actually, they have like histories of Birgitta being alive here, and then she's been alive several generations before. And
was she alive as the doll in this episode?
No.
That'd be weird.
No, she wasn't. But
Chucky.
She's a great hero, and great heroes end up being reborn and usually being heroes again and stuff. And they get tied to important things, the Horn of Valir, that all gets intertwined with it and stuff. And so I'm glad that they mentioned Birgitta. Because she's one of the heroes of the Horn that becomes important in the story.
She's an Overwatch.
Is she?
Yep.
Oh, there we go. So, male weaves. We get to see male weaves for the first time.
They're dark.
They're
covered in darkness.
It's funny, when we first see them, they come in as white, and then the darkness comes over it. And this is an ultra nitpicky thing, and so it's not really going to reflect big, but I wonder if they are trying to imply something by how the weaves work. Because usually, in the books, the taint is described as this evil sludge that's sitting on the top of the pure power of Saidin, and you have to reach through the sludge, be touched by the taint to get the power, and so then whatever weave you do is already tainted because that's the process. In here, it was like the power was clean, and then the darkness came on it. And if I was being uncharitable and skeptical, you could interpret this meaning that the power is pure and clean, but because the man touched it, he then corrupts the power after he touches it, and it's the man corrupting the power by the way they're depicting it.
Maybe.
That's if I was being skeptical and uncharitable, and there's room to just be cautious. The showrunners, people are saying, have confirmed that Saidin and Saidar are two separate things. We haven't seen it in the show yet, and showrunners have lied before.
They have, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Smith.
Yep. Smith.
Kevin...
Smith.
I get what you... because he has a lisp in real life.
No.
That's not why?
No.
Oh!
You got it, Oz?
No, I don't get it.
So, I am waiting for it to be confirmed in the show. Look, if I was to put money on it, I would think they're still keeping it separate. The only point of view we have heard from in regards to male channeling more often is from Liandrin, the red, Aes Sedai. She hates men, and so whatever she says is going to be framed in a very negative light, and there is justification in the further story of her being unreliable in her description. And I won't spoil what it is, but so, because even so Logain gets gentled in this episode, and Liandrin is the one leading the they combine, they link, and so she leads the link. And by the way, I like that they showed linking. Linking is cool, and linking actually is serious stuff. It isn't just addition where your power adds to my power. There's almost
exponential.
I don't know how much the increase is, but it's greater than just normal addition. The power kind of ramps up when women...
Exponential.
Right.
Well, exponential means it can go crazy, crazy high. It can go higher, but I don't know what level. But anyway, I love that they showed linking. And then Leandrin, she says, we will something along the lines of, we will take away the power from which nature never intended you to have.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, it's coming from Leandrin, so it's justifying the characters that she thinks men should never have had the right to touch the power at all. But if this was representing the larger world building of the show, it's saying that the one power is the one thing, and that men had no right to touch, and it's not. And that is another sign that is indicating it might not be gendered. I think it will be, and I'm hoping at the moment that this is just Leandrin being Leandrin. So, the madness. We've only seen the madness depicted now twice, really, and it's been, in both cases, been seeing someone who isn't there. In the book, the madness manifests in a lot of different ways, not just in, like, hearing voices. That's just one example. Sometimes, I don't know, you could end up only ever being able to say the word chicken, or, sometimes the madness manifests in a permanent way that it won't progress worse, but it's not wholly detrimental. Like, I don't know, you're not being, speaking in another language all of a sudden, and you can't, speak switch back.
Yeah.
Sometimes you literally just go crazy and you're like, and you're not hearing any voices.
I do that when we go drive-through.
Yeah. Right. You could lose your intelligence. Sometimes you see shadows. Like, there's one guy that sees in the corner of his eye a shadow that just grows, slowly creeps up towards him, and he looks at the shadow, disappears and stuff. And so
I get that sometimes. Sometimes, like, who's that? Must have been my imagination.
Well, we know you're crazy, so that's fine.
Yeah.
So I would like that the show would, demonstrate different types of madnesses. And if it's just going to be, I hear voices from everyone, because there's a very important male channeler in the show, and his madness manifests in a similar way to what we're seeing. And it's just going to be hearing voices. Come on, give us a bit of variety in the madness. It was really creative sometimes.
To be fair, and I usually don't want to be fair to the showrunners, but to be fair, the first time it showed it was a guy seeing like an identical of him.
Yeah.
This time it showed them covered in darkness, wreathed in darkness. So it is a little bit different.
Slightly different.
So, yeah.
I really liked that they showed Logain resisting the madness. Because this is important. This actually shows that men can resist craziness, because that's in the book. You can try and resist it. You're aware that you're going crazy. You're trying to, there's a tipping point usually that if you keep using Sidene, you can't do anything against it. And so, and I know there's certain exceptions. I'm trying to avoid spoilers. But broadly, I'm not saying who, but just broadly, the madness will always take over someone. But I like that they show there's resistance to it. It's not just craziness, because that also throws some good conflict about the Red Aja and gentling men. Is it truly justified to gentle men into a state where they'll most likely just commit suicide? And I loved Tom Merrilin's background story about his nephew.
That was good.
Like, there are some gems in this episode, really, and certain monologues, like look, I still don't like what they did with Tom. Don't get me wrong,
You just wait.
But with what we have, that line and that little monologue was delivered great, and it actually shows this actor could have done the more accurate Tom brilliantly.
Yeah, I mean, think about what that would have looked like. That would have been much more,
Like, so I think they got a great actor, and he could have portrayed traditional Tom, and so it's not his fault. It's whoever decided to change Tom, because in those serious moments, Tom...
blame the art department.
Yeah, and that scene where Tom gives the story about his nephew was done really well. There was a lot of emotion in it.
That's one thing I found with as well when Ryan was telling the story in episode 2. Like, there's lots of good monologues in the show. All the time I would want a cutscene while they're talking, but they really engage you well enough where I feel like I'm sitting around listening at the same time.
The cutscene.
But I don't need a cutscene.
We're playing it. We're watching a TV show, not playing a game.
But like.
Yeah, but usually, sometimes even in movies and TV shows where they're talking about...
true, they do,
fade to showing the things happen.
Well, that's the thing, though. When they've got such skilled actors, they can pull it off like the way they're doing it now.
Yeah.
So like they do it in Game of Thrones as well. They don't exactly,
And
give them points where they deserve it. I think they've got good actors who are doing good monologues.
Well, there's another stark example in this episode of a really emotionally impactful monologue, and I was from the Tinker Woman, talking about...
her name is Ela. Her name's Ela, thank you, Ela.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ela. But that was really emotional.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's this small little thing I have to get over. She's actually a really good actor, because the only other thing I've actually seen her in a number of things, but the biggest role that I've seen her in is in Downton Abbey, and she plays the biggest snake of a woman ever. You hate her, like with a passion.
Oh.
And I still have like that. When I see her, I just... she encapsulated that role. I just saw blood. It's like, it's you! But she's a great actor, and I was able to get over it. It's just that I have that holdover because...
Fan of Downton Abbey?
I love Downton Abbey. Seen the whole thing, even the movies.
To be fair, I've seen all of Will and Grace, so I can't really...
Mr. Bates. I love Mr. Bates as well.
Mr. Bates?
Mr. Bates is a legend. Look, actually...
Mr. Bates.
I gave up on Downton Abbey after... Like, there were some things I didn't like in Downton Abbey, and one annoyed me so much that I just gave up on the show, because it was like, they get you to love these characters, and then they torture you. They torture them in front of you. You love them so much, and then they put them through hell.
They do that with Rambo.
And it's just like, I couldn't take the emotional. I really, really love some of those characters in Downton Abbey, and they're just like... Oh. But I mean, that just means it's just a solidly good show because of how invested you become. But then it's funny, I was able to watch it through the second time because I knew what was coming. It didn't hit me as hard.
Okay.
And I got to finish it. And it ends on a happy ending, thank goodness.
That's
even the movies. Anyway, so Tinker Woman. Phenomenal.
Great monologue. There was one issue though, when she's like, I wanted to take that spear and hunt them down like they hunted her. And I'm thinking, you're a middle-aged woman. If you hunted down a group of bandits, they will kill you.
Yeah, but I could see someone in distress, like, I don't care, I'm going to try and kill them. Maybe she could be confident she might be able to gut one of them before she gets taken out.
Maybe, but still. And at the same time, her reasoning I didn't find... Like, I liked the monologue, but her reasoning was like, oh, but if I just kill these bandits who are probably going to go on and murder and rob a bunch of other people, what have I done for the world?
This is where we come into a great discussion on The Way of the Leaf. First of all, they portrayed The Way of the Leaf perfectly from the perspective of someone who wholly embraced it, and some of the lines she had real power to them, and this is where there's an issue. It was portrayed so well that I almost think, unless something happens drastically with Perrin, he would be thinking of joining up.
True.
Because, and this is where it gets messed up, like, when she said, have you ever been in battle?
And picked up a sword, picked up a spear,
picked up an axe. That hit, like, because of what's happened with Perrin, that hit me like, whoa. And they show it really well with Perrin. And then she said, has your life been better or worse than picking up that? Now, the logical thing, but in a Perrin's emotional state, I don't think he would not acknowledge the black and white logic of the situation, is that if he didn't pick up the axe and kill the Trolloc would have killed him and his wife, and they'd be dead anyway.
Yeah, but would he have felt better, Shad? He would have felt better if he was dead.
Probably.
Well, yeah, to be fair.
I mean...
he did disembowel his wife with an axe.
Right? And so... it hits Perrin with such emotional weight, and they're portraying it, and they're acting it. His reaction is on point, to the point where this could potentially, they won't do it, but if they're being true to what would actually naturally play out based on what's happened to this character, Perrin could, like if they're being true, adopt the Way of the Leaf, and it would feel more unnatural for him to ignore what's going on, and acknowledging, yeah, I killed my wife, violence bad, all that stuff. Because in the book, he didn't have that baggage, and he had to fight Trollocs, and is like, no, you obviously need to defend people, and Perrin actually doesn't, in the books, he gets annoyed with the Tinkers because of their... He understands, like, you've got to fight people sometimes. Defend yourself.
I'm just thinking, like, man accidentally murders his wife. Like, purely an accident. Mm-hmm. What if that's what happened with OJ? What if? No, what if, man?
What if? What if he was actually innocent?
That's a Marvel episode I want to see. What if?
I don't know. Look, I have no, a bone in the razor.
Oh, he did it.
You reckon? I haven't heard
the police were sus because they were very bad at the time. Mm-hmm. But he did it.
I don't know. That's Oz's opinion. He might be right. He might be wrong.
I grant...
Night's Watch does not officially take a stance.
I do grant the concessions about the African Americans' point of the police at the time, because they were very bad at the time. Yeah. And they might still be now, who knows.
So, back to The Way of the Leaf. So, it's interesting because I have some more complex feelings about this philosophy of total pacifism.
Don't do it. It's dumb.
Well, no. I think there's actually a place for people, certain people, not everyone. See, I think it's wrong that everyone does this, but I think it's perfectly fine and even admirable for some people to choose to be total pacifists, even at the risk of their own life.
What if I take your book and never give it back? I'm
not a pacifist, and I would kill you.
I would choose violence.
I would choose violence. But see, I'm saying I admire people, and there's even... This actually has an interesting religious component for me and us, is because in the Book of Mormon, there's a group of converted Lamanites that choose total pacifism in it. And it is reflected as a righteous thing, yet other Nephites need to come in and save their lives, and it's reflected on them for being righteous, for defending people as well, showing that it's actually perfectly justified to defend yourself when you're attacked, and it is a noble thing, but it's actually not... Like, even my own religion is not necessarily said as a greater thing, because it is equally noble to defend lives with violence, because that's what you need to do it.
But also Jesus does say, when someone strikes you on one cheek, turn the other cheek, right? But here's the thing, you've only got two cheeks to turn.
He also said, I
come to bring a sword. Right?
Yeah. But, opposing evil, even with aggressively, has always been a Christian doctrine.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's a bit of a balance. And so what I like about this, I like it in the Wheel of Time and this, is that actually brings up this philosophy, not as a wholly incorrect thing, but as a thing that can have place in the world and there should be room for it.
Well, it's like Batman, dude. You have a problem with Batman letting the Joker live.
I do.
Yeah, so that's my point too. If someone goes on a murder spree, I say...
Sometimes people need killing. I completely agree.
Based.
No, it's true. What, you disagree with me?
Can't let the Lord do all the work.
Exactly.
You love that line.
I love that line.
And so, if someone wants to be a pacifist, I think, good on you, I admire you, but when the barbarians come, I will try and protect you, because if you're entitled not to... Though I do admit, and this is where I parent, if the barbarians come after me and they could have lifted a hand to help save me and my family and they don't, it's like...
Yeah!
That gives me I'm a bit dark on you then, you know?
Yeah, no, fair enough. if they're going door to door and everyone's just given up and then I would not. I would not. Solzhenitsyn says
sometimes there is a moral obligation to defend the innocent.
Yep.
And if you don't lift a hand to help...
Well, only sometimes.
No, but...
all the time.
If you don't lift a hand to help, you would be under moral condemnation.
If you are capable of helping the innocent that can't defend themselves, then you're as guilty as...
Well, there's some great moral complexity to this discussion, just as we're finding now, and the Wheel of Time has it, and so far, they haven't really pushed back yet, but they need to. If they want Perrin to go on his regular arc in the stories, they need to. And at the moment, it's actually gone a bit far in favour of the Way of the Leaf, because it's actually portrayed really well. Like that line where she says, what better revenge against violence and peace? That does have power to it.
Well, here's the thing. There is better revenge against violence done to you. Violence done back. Okay? But I do like the what better revenge against death than life. That one, I don't have any thing against.
And it hits Perrin hard. And so my prediction for episode 5, I haven't seen episode 5, it's obviously not out, so I can't be doing spoilers. This is a prediction, but if I'm right, I think if they're smart, if the writers are smart, and they know that, there's a potential issue with Perrin that we need to reel him back in, the Tinker train that they're a part of needs to get attacked.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was going to happen during the party.
And they will not lift... But Perrin sees people dying and is like, someone needs to lift the axe.
See, if they do that, that'll be cool. I'll actually really like that, if they do it well. Yeah.
That's what needs to happen to bring Perrin back online, is that violence is necessary to defend the innocent at times. Obviously, this is changing a lot from the books. Now, this is a show. You should all be aware, I've been aware, that there will need to be changes, sometimes drastic changes. The key point is that the changes, whatever they are, should still be true to the philosophy, the world building, the characters of the story. And when they're not, I have ripped it to pieces, like Tom Maryland, okay? But when the changes are actually in line with the characters, the pre-existing lore, that's what this episode shows a lot of. Not in every instance, but a lot of the changes are being true to what the wheel time should be. And I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's like you're trimming down a suit. You're not making a completely different one.
Yes, exactly. So I hate the thing where people say it's another turning the wheel, we can change it and you should be okay with it. No. If the changes are objectively worse, betraying what the story was, characters was, and everything like that, absolutely you can have issue with it, and we want an as accurate depiction of the same turning the wheel, but because it's an adaptation and we don't have as much time, we can't show everything, trims need to happen, and therefore you need to adapt where the story goes. So, for instance, they are fast-forwarding something. They're skipping over the stopover in Barillon, and they're clearly going to be skipping over the stopover in Camelin, and they're going to be having characters that they meet in those places in different things to condense it and make it faster. I'm yet to see if this will be good, okay, but I understand that you did need to cut some things, and I could see how you could cut Barillon and Camelin and still execute a solid Wheel of Time story. We'll see if they achieve it in the books. But just because we shouldn't just say, they cut Camelin and Barillon, shame on them. And because remember, I was criticising Barillon if they didn't introduce Min. Yep. So Min probably will be introduced at a later time. They've cast her. Okay?
Can we talk about this one, the GOOF?
Which one?
So basically, whoever wrote this is the guy, the IMDb one.
Tuatha An?
Yeah, Tuatha An state to Perrin that they are heading to Valon.
Okay. So, this is ultra, nitpicky, next level.
Yeah, but it's exactly next level. Epic.
It shouldn't be held as a legitimate criticism of the show because it's so ultra nitpicky and specific. It doesn't change the quality, really.
To be fair, though, he said we're heading... We're going to a place...
the comment.
Okay. So how's that word pronounced?
Tuatha An.
Tuatha An, yeah. The Tuatha An state to Perrin that they are heading to Tar Valon, which is northeast of their current location. Yet later, they show they're walking southwest. The sunset is to the right of them, to the right of the direction they're heading. They are literally walking the opposite direction of where they're trying to go.
Unforgivable.
No, but here's the thing.
The show should be burnt.
They said they're going this way, but they're actually going that way. So I say that's fair. I say it's more than fair.
I say it's fun to point out, but it's a non-issue for the true story.
Okay. Let's go back a bit.
I admire this level of autism. Trust me.
Remember when we filmed Life at Review Titanic?
Yeah.
I said, then there's Bill deGrasse Tyson, who tweets at James Cameron saying, the stars you showed in the night sky in Titanic are wrong for that time, for that era. And then he's like, and then you said, no, that's fine, that's great. Go ahead, do that.
Because we were being purposely autistic.
Oh, well, you know what?
You can't tell the time difference because you're just always autistic.
Exactly. Here's the thing, man. If they say they're going one way, they're going another way, and someone notices, I'm like, yeah, good on you, that guy.
Yeah.
Notice for us.
Continuity like that, obviously, the showrunners should be trying to be aware of.
Yeah.
And things like that slip through by accident.
If I was directing, I'll be completely honest with you, Shad, I would make sure they're going in the right direction.
Really?
That's something.
Do you reckon, is this
that's something I would
be
be like, okay, yeah, because if you got storyboards and there's a sunset, it doesn't ruin me. But if I was making it, I would make sure they were in the right direction. Little details like that, I think.
It's better than Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones, right? They had people just teleporting all over.
Yeah.
The place.
See, there's obviously a level where continuity errors actually can ruin a show, but in terms of this one, I think barely anyone will notice.
One man did.
One man did.
One man with a mind.
And good on you. Yeah. I respect you for noticing.
Get this man on the show right now.
You are a legend. But of course, I admire this level. But overall,
men like that
it's
found
inconsequential.
It's men like that found Shia LaBeouf's flag.
Yes, that is. All right, so we covered some pretty important things overall, and I've got so many notes. We'll see. I'm not sure we'll go through all of them. I'll try and leave some of the inconsequential ones. So there's a lot. I could comment on heaps. I actually liked how they showed the way that they were shielding Logain, and that this is actually demonstrating without overtly saying the one power has limitations and weaknesses. They're showing its limitations by saying, we need two of us to shield this guy. And Moraine, when you shield, make sure your shield's in place before I take mine off. And so this is actually showing the audience in a very natural way how the magic works.
Yeah.
And this is great. This is what should be happening. In this scene is actually a good example of great writing and bad writing. Okay.
With the axes?
No. The axes happen way later.
Okay.
Okay. So overall, though, there's a lot more of this kind of good, subtle writing where scenes are doing more than one thing, where it's establishing characters and relationships, growing relationships, politics, dynamics of what's happening in a thing, and world building all in one scene, usually short. That is a sign of good, efficient writing.
I agree that's efficient writing, but they could do that in a way that's more entertaining. That's my issue.
I agree. I'm not saying it can't even be better, but we've reached the realms of good in a lot of scenes, which thank goodness we see, okay?
Yeah.
Because the other thing that actually makes this good is that it's natural. It's not clunky. Because oftentimes when there's information that the audience needs and you have an untalented writer, it's like, I need them to know this, they force dialogue and unnatural progression of conversation just so it's for the audience. And we see a sign of this, okay? In this scene, and this is a sign of it being bad. Leandrin, when she comes in and Moraine says, let me take a turn, her response is...
was it the selfless to a fault one?
Yes, it's a same old Moraine, selfless to a fault. Like...
It's a bit of a non sequitur.
It's forced. It's like, who really would say that? Actually,
all I can think of is, my son!
Yeah.
And the fact that she didn't save him.
Oh! But my son!
She's really selfless to a fault.
It'd be funny if Leander's like, but that man's son!
It would be great if Land counted like that. It's like, selfless to a fault. Land said, you didn't see us cross the river.
You didn't see that man and his son.
One, yes, that is contradicted by what we've previously seen. And so, again, a sign of bad world building where a character tries to tell the audience, this is what a character is like, which contradicts how the character's been actually acting in the show.
Yeah.
Sign a bad thing. It's an unnatural line, and they're trying to force, this is what Leandrin thinks of Moraine, everyone, when they were able to do that naturally when Leandrin tells Nynaeve about Moraine. It's like, let me tell you about Moraine.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Did she really tell her about... Oh, no, okay, yeah, I got it mixed up. Yeah, she did.
All right, so they didn't need to force that line, and it felt so unnatural. Like, who are you really... Like, it was
you wouldn't say it to her.
Yeah, it was a bad line, okay?
With that scene where Leandrin's talking to Nynaeve, Leandrin starts by asking her questions, and then Nynaeve is like, I'll answer your questions if you answer mine. She never got to ask questions.
They cut away, and so there was a whole
Oh,
conversation.
okay.
And so, a great example of horrible writing where the writers are purely injecting lines just for the audience that contradicts what the characters know is Cowboy Bebop. Watch our episode 1 review, right, where Jet, he gets really upset about the price of going through the hyper gates, but the thing is, it's like he's reacting to it for the first time, and he travels through the hyper gates all the time, and so him getting so bent out of shape and suddenly this price that is given is purely just for the audience, and it's not accounting for what the character should previously know or anything like that. And so it's not to say the writing's perfect. This is a clear example of something bad, but we're going to go to other scenes this episode, which is actually really efficient, really solid, and doesn't have any bad lines like that. And so this is where I get a little conflicted. It's like, who wrote this episode? Get them back.
It's the same people.
But if it's the same people, it's like, how did you lose the plot so much in episode 3? And all the other issues that we've been pointing out? What's going on?
There is some things that it might be. So just because it was written by the same people, the director might have been like, change it up,
There is some good points that people have been making, that also there could be Amazon execs saying, no, what? Tom Marilyn? He's got a cloak and a big moustache. No, you got to make him cool. Make him a cowboy.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, you're fired, kind of thing. And so it is very common in these big budget productions, especially from the big names out there, that the execs have their meddling fingers and everything. So look, honestly, if that's the case, I will wholly apologise for the criticisms I've been lobbing against the writers and showrunner if it's been other people messing and screwing things up.
But it could be also done for the bad, but also for the good. Like, because the director for this one, he did episode 3 as well, and he also directed some episodes of Utopia, which you should all check out. No, don't worry, it's a thriller show.
Okay.
Bit of a conspiracy show. But it came out on British TV, so it's fine. So the director's good. And so sometimes the director will be like, change it up. What would you feel you could say, depending on who you get. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is showing signs of some solid competence, and we're pointing out some examples, and we'll point out some more as we go. But there's a lot happening in this. Like, they establish, how far has the madness progressed, and so they're subtly building world building that's also working in with other things. More stuff that they establish Legain's exploits and exploits and an impact on the world really well. And he had a whole army. He got the King of Gildan behind his back. And they're actually establishing Logain. This is not some guy that you should ignore. His serious business, all right? Yeah. He has been having some big impacts around the world, all happening in the same scene.
To be fair, it didn't really feel like a big army. It felt like just a bunch of bandits.
We're going to get there, actually. I have a question. I was like, is the army... If this is supposed to be the army of a kingdom,
why the king only have 2 guys guarding him?
So, we'll get there, because there are some questions.
I'll tell you why. Budget constraints.
Just CG some guys.
Yeah.
Another same scene, great stuff. Leandrin wanting to gentle Logain right away, okay? And then it shows the politics and dynamics, the motivations of the characters. And so I am listing multiple layers of complexity in this scene of what's coming out in a very tight, compact, quick scene.
Look,
except for that line that Leandrin says, Moraine, selfless to a fault.
Yeah.
This is solid stuff.
I have to go with the Red Arger on that one. If the guy has an army and he's doing all this stuff, I say, you know what? No need for a trial. Gentle the guy.
This is the other point of praise I have for it. They're not wholly vilifying the Red Arger. In this episode, they show some legitimate cause for what they're pushing for.
It's a reasonable thing to do.
It's like, and in the end, all the Aes Sedai kind of agree. This guy just broke out. He killed one of our sisters and everything like that. Nah, he's too dangerous. Gotta gentle him now.
Also, why didn't Nynaeve's healing heal her? The Green Arger that got stabbed.
She was dead.
I know, right? But we saw, what's her name? Meringue get stabbed through the thing. Before that, she went around with an open wound up here for like 3 days.
Yeah, but she was still alive. If you're dead.
I know that, right? But she got stabbed down here by the knife thing. Mm-hmm. Moraine survived 2 stab wounds so far. Like, it's not unreasonable to think that they might have been able to save the Green Arger, just based off everything we've seen.
No, like, once you're dead, no amount of the power can bring someone back. Someone even tries it in the book. I hope it's in the show. And
bad results.
Interesting things.
Make a zombie.
I'm not saying. I want to
see a zombie now.
But you cannot bring someone back from the dead.
I didn't think she would just be dead like that.
I mean, it depends where you get hit. There are instant death.
But that's the thing.
If it's in the heart.
So she got stabbed here. Moraine got stabbed over here with the piece of axe. You know?
Okay.
So it's like,
she was an older woman, maybe.
Don't bring age into it. They're all centuries old.
Oh, that's true, actually.
And she looked a bit more stout, she could take it.
Another thing that was established in this scene that didn't need to be said. It establishes Moraine power level. They go in, only so-and-so, only one of us 3 can shield him, and then Moraine just like, would you want me to help me to take over? That instantly establishes that Moraine is on the top tier of Aes Sedai power already, without needing to say it, or someone say, careful Moraine, she's so powerful. They show it. Perfect. Expertly done.
But it also, at the same time, put a cap on it, like, wow, this is hard.
Yes, and I love that. It showed the limitations of, Saidar, or just the power generally, and that I really like that, they didn't depower Logain. He is pretty tough, and so they're showing, and I was actually... Look, it's very well done where they build up, they establish this guy's really powerful, and then Nynaeve explodes and smashes everyone, then we have a point of reference to gauge what's really big. And then, well, we really know Nynaeve from the show is next level, accurate to the books, but it's a good, they establish a point of reference to gauge power levels and things. Because it also means that Nynaeve compared to the Aes Sedai, and the Aes Sedai are weaker than Logain, and Nynaeve being so strong. Nynaeve compared to their sisters,
true.
Big thing. I want to share something about the books. It's really cool. It's not really a spoiler because it doesn't come until ages. Well, this is the thing. It technically is revealed in New Spring, which is a prequel. It comes up again later on in the books when Egwene and Nynaeve are learning about Aes Sedai and stuff. Okay. It's a world building element, which is just interesting to know about Aes Sedai politics. And I think it'll actually increase people's enjoyment if they are aware of this world-building thing. Because, well, one, we don't even know if they'll put it in the show. So I want people to be aware of it to also keep tabs. Okay, so Aes Sedai establish a hierarchy of authority based on power level. Unless you are given a very specific role, like the Umberland seat, if a group of Aes Sedai just randomly get together, they automatically defer to the one with the most power to make the calls.
They can automatically sense it, or do they have to check?
They automatically sense it.
Well, that's the thing, though, because that's kind of true in terms of dominance hierarchies anyway.
Yeah.
You can always sense who's higher on you in the dominance
Who's the biggest dog.
You can always tell. And if you can't, there's something wrong with you.
And so that actually has interesting dynamics because there are times in the books, don't know if it'll be in the show, where there's one Aes Sedai who's on a mission and she's doing something really important, and then a random Aes Sedai comes along who's more powerful than her. It's like, this is what you're doing? Oh, okay. Well, I'm taking control now. You're going to do this, and this, and this. And they're like, crap. Because
okay. It's kind of like when we're working and you're like, hey, we're doing this today. I'm like, damn it. So now you know what it's like to be that guy.
The thing is, though, think about how powerful Egwene and Nynaeve are.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, there you go. Well, thanks for spoiling it.
It doesn't. Well, they're not that powerful yet.
The episode pretty much.
Well, actually, this will, again. Will the show be true to this then? Because it also depends on how well they can use the power and things.
I think we figured out if they don't enforce it now, it's either going to be inconsistent later or they're not going to show it.
Okay, there's a couple of ways the show can do it. This was perhaps Nynaeve should have been channeling for a while already. This could have been her breaking through moment, where it's like she's pushing and she touches Saidin for the first time, and they could justify there's a big explosion connection.
I think it was an emotional moment for her, so that warrants.
Well, her emotions are important because pay attention to the fact that what she was doing right before she exploded.
She was crying. She was sad.
No, she got a bit more emotional than sad. If you watch carefully, just pay attention to that. Okay.
Oh, you were saying before that sometimes only certain things can trigger it. So emotion, like laughter or sadness or stuff like that. Ooh.
I am not saying a thing.
But
if you can put 1 and 2 together...
You gave me 1 and 2.
You still need to put it together, though.
We got 3. We have 3.
You got to 3. Just an observation, Leandrin might be the most accurately depicted character from the book so far. In terms, she's described in the book as having this small rosebud mouth. The actress has that, and also I think she's portrayed really well for accurate to the character. She hates men, and so Leandrin, I got well done. You know,
I'm afraid when I look at her.
So, what's your impression of her as well?
Leandrin?
Yeah, Leandrin.
You know, I'm wide girth if I walk past her. Like, she looks like she does not. She'd be wearing a pink hat if she went somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, you get creepy vibes from her.
I'm scared vibes from her.
Yeah,
Not creepy.
good.
Like, this is a powerful lady I don't want to mess with. Like,
this is good. This is good. That's the impression you should get.
Yeah, and I'm the same. I would. You stay clear of her. When she speaks to you, you answer, and then once it's done, you just go off and do your thing.
Yeah, like inner city school principal
Yeah.
has just had enough.
Yeah.
So Nynaeve's reaction to her is very well justified. First thing she says, "That woman's a snake." It's like, good moment
She's
for
an
Nynaeve.
anaconda.
And it shows like Nynaeve, she's perceptive, she's no one's fool and everything. She doesn't like Aes Sedai generally.
Yep.
And this episode shows Warders' relationships, Nynaeve's observations of the Warders and observations of the Aes Sedai and stuff really well.
Look, I'm not going to lie, I was a bit flabbergasted for the first line that she says to Leandra says to Nynaeve. Was like, I can't quite place the accent. That's because you haven't heard me talk before. Okay, so in this situation, who's stupid? Leandrin or the writers for putting that whole thing together?
Good.
Do you know what I mean?
Good question.
Like, if I go to some random person on the street, like, I'm sorry, where are you from? I can't place the accent. No, but I don't know you.
We've never spoken.
met.
How could you check?
Exactly.
Like, you're absolutely right. That is a bad line right there.
What were they doing?
I reckon
Either
it was
Leandrin
like
is being a utter moron.
Yeah.
I reckon it was like an on-day set thing where they read it and they're like, that's dumb. What would you say if she asked you that? And then they probably did some improv.
You've never heard me speak.
I think the writer put that in there and said, this is brilliant. I'm a genius.
Nynaeve's being, like getting in their face and being clever is like, you don't know. It shows a bit of a dumb moment for...
It's a very dumb moment. Whatever.
For Leandrin. Though, I like Leandrin trying to snake her way in.
That was the character.
Well, the thing is, the reality is, right? This is subtext, and they don't show in the show, but every single Aes Sedai here should actually be able to sense Nynaeve's potential, and they would almost be falling over with how powerful Nynaeve is. They don't want to give anything away. Like, it would be a big contradiction in the world building if next episode Moiraine is like, oh, actually, there already is a contradiction. They didn't know Nynaeve could channel.
Yeah.
Because Moiraine should be able to sense that. When they go in, when Lan and Moiraine go in and talking about the false dragon guy, what's his name? Loghain, is like, is he more powerful than Egwene? And she's like, I don't know, which establishes they think Egwene is the most powerful channeler in the group, when Nynaeve kicks the absolute crap out of Egwene in power. So basically the show is not demonstrating Aes Sedai being able to sense the power in others and their potential. That's a contradiction! Don't like it!
I'm trying to think around.
And if they show it later, it'll contradict what's already been established, because what should really be happening is the Aes Sedai, when they meet Nynaeve, they should be going, what? Like, because what happens then is, this is what could have worked well, which they might have been doing in the show, subtext and stuff, is that all the Ajahs want powerful people to join their Ajah. And so Liandrin would be wanting to get good with Nynaeve, to get Nynaeve to join the Red Ajah. They actually end up doing this with the other girls who can channel, especially powerful ones. It's like, join the blue, join the green and stuff. And the Reds would kill to have someone that powerful in their group. Unless they have a prejudice against Wilders, which does come up now and then with certain Aes Sedai.
But that's the thing, Liandrin, she was like, we protect the magic from everyone who misuse it. Even other Aes Sedai.
So, I want to talk a bit more about that as well, actually.
No,
so
it's pretty on the nose.
Let's put a pin in that one.
Okay.
But going back, so that's really significant, because Moiraine should have sensed Nynaeve's potential from the moment they met.
Did they, in the books, did they meet?
Yeah. And it's funny, because in the books, Moiraine doesn't try and recruit Nynaeve, but she's not really after. She's after the dragon. And so I think the books, you can justify that that's not what she's there for. She would have been like, we're going to send someone back for you. Because, by the way, this isn't really a spoiler, but people, Aes Sedai, do realise that there are some people with powers and they go back to literally recruit.
Hey, how many colours are there in the Aes Sedai?
I forget exactly, but someone said that they took one out in this show.
Okay. And what are the blue ones doing?
There's like 7... I think there's like 7 in the show, and there's supposed to be more.
Also for every prime colour?
No, because there's a grey Ajah.
Oh, okay.
There's a grey, there's white.
What are the
green,
blue ones do?
blue, red, grey, white, yellow, brown. 5, 6, 7, and what am I missing?
And what do the blue ones do again?
Okay, blue Ajah dedicate themselves to causes, and they, they work towards important ends. They're kind of the ones who try and affect the course of nations and what's happening and stuff. And like Moiraine, her cause is finding
the dragon.
Finding the dragon, okay? Green Ajah is the battle Ajah, sworn to fight the shadow. Red Ajah. I guess we'll go on to this next thing that you brought up. In the book, I can't remember if they were, I think this is a change, but it could just be that I can't remember from the book. Because I always thought it was just their job was to hunt men who can channel, not protect against misuses of the power. This is the thing, though. If this is a change, I like that interpretation. I think it's better to have someone, like an Ajah dedicated to protecting misuses of the power, including other Aes Sedai. That's actually a much better overall mission than just men, because other Aes Sedai misuse it as well.
But if it's other Aes Sedai, it will probably be a better idea to have warders. Because if your enemy has warders and you're a glass cannon, you're screwed.
Yeah, because it makes more sense that they're man-hating if they're only dedicated to hunting male channelers. And so there's a bit of a thing.
Even female warders, if they had them, that would, better than nothing.
They can't make female warders.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know that. I thought a warder could be...
By the way, I have read the books. Don't anyone say it, okay?
Oh, there's some contention there.
I don't know, but I know... I'm trying to avoid spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys.
People who know.
People who
You're
know.
on notice.
Shut up. All right. They can't make.
Okay.
Or no one would dare try because of potential. They don't know what would happen. It's a bit weird. The water bond is really, really personal.
See, I didn't know it was a magical bond. I thought it was just like they're good mates.
It is a magical bond. Yeah.
Do the waters live as long as the...
They live longer. They might actually live as... I can't remember exactly. That comments, you can let me know. But they become stronger, okay? And so their general physical abilities are usually enhanced. They can survive injuries better.
See, I didn't get any of that. I thought they were just regular people.
Oh, well, see, that's a failing in the show if you're not aware of it.
Yeah.
But they also can sense where the Aes Sedai is. If they're close, they can almost get exact location. If they're far away, they know the general direction. You are that way. They can sense each other's moods and what... They can sense if someone is going in pain and stuff. They don't necessarily feel the pain unless it's extreme. But there are times when someone gets bonded for the first time and the person's injured and they're like, holy crap, I didn't know you were in so much pain, kind of stuff. That connection is really in depth.
Okay.
And so if we're on that note, let's talk about the water bond, because I think it was demonstrated great in this episode, honestly.
In terms of oh, she's dead.
No, as in, Waters are shown as basically being near equal partners to the Aes Sedai. No Water is getting belittled, shut up, tell your place. The Waters are counselling their Aes Sedai on a personable, even level. The Aes Sedai are, not just Moraine, but we see other people's relationships. They are listening to their Waters, paying attention. They are close, important confidants that are not belittled, the Aes Sedai ultimately always has the end say, and this is even in the books. If they have disagreement, Aes Sedai makes the call. They are the senior in the couple in that sense, who makes the judgment calls. But they're showing that they respect the Waters, listen to them, and the Waters can get in their face. There are times when the Water, even Lan in the books, is you're making the wrong decision. Stop it, or something the Waters will get stuck in the face. These are individual men who sometimes have really impressive, skills, because these are they're some of the best fighters in the world, and so you don't just bond a random person. A lot of these Waters are experts. They have histories of their own and things, and some can be really important people. And so these Waters, I really like the respect they showed to the Waters, but also not only that, how crucial they are. We saw that in the first episode, but in this episode,
they're blocking arrows.
They are saving their Aes Sedai's lives. I love that. I love that the one power is not this all-powerful thing that they can just defeat anyone. No, they're very vulnerable, and they're still women.
Yeah.
And so if you want someone to block arrows, who's going to be best equipped to do it?
The guy with the shield.
Get a guy who knows how to fight.
Not Boromir, that's for sure.
He just didn't have his shield, Oz.
That's true. Where was it?
Yeah, if he had his shield, Boromir. Here's a point of criticism. Lan's practice is crap.
Yeah, what was that?
Lame, random movements of sword trying to look cool, and he literally has an ending stance with his arms apart. What the hell is that? And are you going to say, it's just a kata, Shad? A good kata is supposed to have good functional moves that you're trying to train into your reflex.
Because Tai Chi is completely useless. That's what it is. It's useless Tai Chi.
Well, it's not. This isn't supposed to be useless. These are Waters. They're supposed to be tough.
Do you think the show writers know that? Because they've probably seen Tai Chi. They've probably seen Tai Chi, but they think that.
Oh, that was awful. And the guy's. He's got two axes, both double-headed.
Stupid.
They're really dumb.
Here's the thing about the axe. If he goes back too far, it's going to hit him in the hand. And the wrist.
I hate the axes. So this is almost an unforgivable type of design, because there's no motion really that you'd need a reverse cut with this size motion of axe. The back axe head is identical to the front one, and so it's not giving you more versatility. It's not a different shape reverse axe head, because some people, Scarlegrim, who's made a video saying that sometimes the back axe head is a different shape to do a different thing. It can be justified. This is the type that I criticize. It's not. This is identical. It's just double the weight of the axe. And if you want extra weight, you can thicken the front part or add a better tool on the back, like a spike. Which these axes are horrible. Worst weapon in the show so far, which is a feat because the Heron Mark sword is pretty garbage already.
And also, they looked bad.
They just looked bad.
They looked awful. Well, the axes were curved.
Yeah, it had some intricate kind of pattern work. That looks cool. Give it, but the overall shape.
The shape looked awful.
Awful.
There's an axe in Conan Exiles that looks identical to that.
Yeah.
And I don't put on my thralls because I hate the look of it.
And so what's annoying, right, is the actual conversation between the two Waters is good. It's establishing relationship, insight. The other water is trying to get information. There is something that is subtly shown in the episode where it's not spoken overtly. The other Aes Sedai don't know what Moraine is doing. And they're trying to find out. This is important, okay?
See, I didn't get that vibe.
Yeah. But it was there, though, because when you think back, they're all asking her what she's doing. And then, when she meets with Lyanna, they're having conversation, and then Moraine actually is like, is this so-and-so's attempt for you to get information from me and stuff? They actually, because Moraine is doing something that is not sanctioned by the Tower, okay? Right. She's on her own special mission for important reasons. Hopefully the show will go into it. But also, basically, when Moraine was raised to the Aes Sedai, this is New Spring prequel stuff, so it's not a spoiler because they're not going to go into prequel stuff unless they make a prequel. But the moment Moraine was raised as Aes Sedai, she fled the One Tower onto her mission, basically. Oh. Yeah, she's been on this mission for over 20 years.
Wow. Okay then. Yeah. Oh, so she's a relatively young Aes Sedai. Yeah, basically, actually. But she's always been pretty powerful and respected, and they're portraying that she's reclusive. Like, there's that scene where the other Aes Sedai is like, it's hard to speak with her. What do you know? What she's going through her head and everything. And so this is all really good. This is what Moraine is doing. It's accurate to the books, and it's also there is a line that I'm so glad they did. It's subtle. It's correct in the books, and this is important for relationships and characters going on, where someone says that the Amyrlin is really ticked off with Moraine. That's important. Who's that?
That's the leader of the Aes Sedai, essentially.
Oh, and she's not...
She's not happy with Moraine. Her name is Siwan. You'll get to meet her. If you know of course I'm aware of everything going on here. I've read the books and stuff. But it's important that that's the perception that people have at the moment. Okay?
To be fair, look at the movies. If a boss in a movie is mad at his employee, that's usually one of the better employees. I hope that's the case, for my sake.
Lan's acting is pretty solid.
Yeah, no, he's one of my favourites, yeah.
He's really good. I love him. Not
just on his own, though, but like his interaction with Moraine.
Yeah.
They seem to knowingly look at each other a lot.
I can't really fault much of the acting overall, honestly.
I don't like the other people.
Just the characters or the acting, though? The acting is on point.
They are too dead-faced.
Come on, you like Moraine, though, don't you?
Moraine, yeah, she's great. Yeah. Moraine Land... Okay, the people I like is Moraine Land, the girl who plays Ladrian... What's her name again? Leandrin. Nynaeve is starting to grow on me, but still a bit...
See, Nynaeve is one of the highlights, surprisingly, for me in the series so far.
And Gleeman, even though he's not living up to his potential, I do like his acting potential, skill.
I think they've improved over the episodes. Yeah. I think the first two, I had no idea who was who. Mm-hmm. They were all just the five who were all grumpy, but now that they're split off... They were grumpy and they split apart. But now they're split off and they're starting to explore more of the characters now. I feel like they're coming into who they are individually.
So, highlights for me, Lan is... But the big ones are, surprisingly, Nynaeve. Perrin, I've really been enjoying in the show. I think the acting has been really on point. Moraine's been pretty darn good as well. Those are the main ones. And Leandrin, surprisingly, it's funny. I don't enjoy her as a character, but I enjoy the depiction. It's accurate, it's well done. Yeah. You get all the vibes that you need to get off of her. So, there we go. Now, there's another scene where it's between the guy that Lan was just practicing with. He goes and he's speaking with his Aes Sedai, and this scene does a lot in a short time, and it shows the relationship between the Warder and her. It shows how she feels towards Moraine, and they're trying to get information. It shows that there's infighting in the, not infighting, but political machinations of the Aes. This is really crucial stuff about depicting it, and they're demonstrating this really well in a short amount of time.
But what was that line where she's like, you worry too much? She's like, I don't sleep that often, so I have time to. Like,
I didn't mind the line.
If it was, he could have said, someone has to. He could have said any other thing.
I thought it was affectionate and endearing.
I don't know.
Yeah,
to be fair though,
don't like it.
I don't sleep that much. Well, you went to bed before Lan did.
It's true.
You want to talk about bedtimes?
No,
Fix that.
That was a different one.
Was it?
That was the two warders that were obviously gay, and well,
they're in a polyamorous relationship.
Yeah.
It's hard to figure out where things are fitting in there.
Is it Lyanna? Because I get her mixed up with Leandrin. But it's an Aes Sedai. She's the great. She looks Indian. She's green Aja. she is a prominent Aes Sedai throughout the book series,
Okay.
and she has multiple warders, and it's kind of hinted at in the books that
They all go at it.
Well,
They all go at it. All the time.
The book is funny. The books are far more subtle. It's only just mentions like you think that they probably have a bit more of a relationship. It's like, yeah, they do, and that's almost like, but they didn't have warders be like getting into each other and then getting into the Aes Sedai. But if that look, I don't really have to. If that's what they wanted, but it's more in your face in the show than it is in the book. The book is actually. It's funny, the book has sex and nudity, but nothing of it is pornographic or explicit or gratuitous at all. It's actually done really conservatively in terms of the depiction. It's not in your face. It's done respectfully all the time.
Well, at the macro scale, the books have something this show doesn't. Subtlety. There's no subtlety in this show.
No, we saw subtlety in this episode.
What happened?
So, like how they depicted the other Aes Sedai's opinion of Moraine and trying to dig for information on what she's doing. That was done very subtly. You didn't even notice.
Well, I mean, I kind of did when they were like, Moraine never talks. It's hard to get along with someone who never talks to us. Like, well, there you go.
I think they showed some good subtlety because they also showed some interesting... Again, going back to the scene, it did even more. Like you said, there's rumour that they were at Aja being gentling men, and stuff. And the conversation flowed very naturally between the two. It wasn't forced, and it achieves a lot. There's a lot of world building, a lot of characters, a lot of information, a lot of dynamics between the Aes Sedai. It's a great scene.
It might, maybe I blanked out, but I just for me, the subtlety that I noticed a little bit was when you explained to me that Nynaeve is a powerful one, and so Leandra's trying to get her on side. When you explained that, I was like, okay, that explains that scene.
There's another point of subtlety that I think that I was in the show I noticed, and I'll point out see if you notice. Actually, we'll jump to it now, right? So we see those two warders snuggling up, they're holding hands and everything.
Yep.
And then they say, their Aes Sedai, Lyanna?
I was just thinking, like, some of the other waters are probably like, if they want to get together and, may 1,000 blossoms bloom. But when the dark one is killing people in the Northern Territory.
Any time on it. Because the dark one's getting stronger.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's the green one, lots of water. She comes back, and the water say, it's time for us to turn in. Or they say a line where it's time for us to get some rest. And it's very hinted, we know the type of rest.
But it was kind of undone when the fact they're holding hands.
Yeah, but we know the rest that they're getting, right? This is where the subtle thing. Lan gets up and says, I better get some rest as well. Look at how Nynaeve reacts.
Oh, okay.
She is thinking Lan is going to go bonk.
She's thinking everyone's getting laid but me.
Yeah, exactly. That's and it also shows why would that bother her?
Oh.
Clicked for us.
That's the thing though,
and
man.
why was she so upset when he was injured then? You see?
Yep.
There is some very good subtle...
You know what? I was incorrect, so I will concede.
We love you, Ben. We
love
miss
you, Ben. Come back.
So there we go. There is some,
Yeah, I'll grant you that one.
And look, just because we've moved there as well, the progression of Nynaeve's reaction with Lan, like their relationship just in this episode, they achieved a heck of a lot. Like there are some moments where I'll point out this specifically, where each of these characters would react very positively to the other. But the first one, I mean, like, Lan comes in to talk with... Well, for one, he interrupts Leandrin, because, again, subtle thing, Lan doesn't trust Leandrin. Why is he interrupting? He doesn't want Leandrin getting her ear too much, and and then she said, Leandrin, instead of staying with him, says, like, I'm done anyway.
Yeah.
That shows, subtly, that Leandrin doesn't really trust Lan or like them and everything. Nynaeve's reaction, that woman's a snake, in character, on point. And Leandrin is a snake, like the way she's being depicted. So it's on point. I forget exactly what they talk on to next, but when Lan gets up, he says, "You're free to join our fire too, if you promise not to stab anyone along the way."
No, not to push anyone.
push anyone to fire. I loved it. It was great.
I liked the how he translated that, because that's like a big deal. Like, if the last thing you said to me was "Rio Mickey," whatever that Japanese thing was, and I never knew what it was, and someone told me that'd be like, "Oh, thanks, man."
Oh, the translation thing.
Yeah, the translation. That was like...
Well, this is what I mean, right? So, already, this is the thing. Lan, there are things that they've already shown in the show, and it was done in the book, where that catches Lan's attention, showing that so there's something going on with this Nynaeve, and just by that humorous little... he already is getting an idea of her personality, but it also shows he doesn't wholly hate it.
Yeah, because
He said it in an affectionate, kind of humorous way. Very well done. Okay.
He's flirting.
All right.
Well, he's being friendly.
But yeah, that's in line with her character, showing that he's kind of already familiar with what she's like. And then, the next scene, when she approaches him while he was praying, right? And then she offers a prayer of her own. He hears her like, I didn't know you knew the old tongue. And she's like, you know, people wouldn't trust, like superstition, people don't trust, because she doesn't even know the name. And so, the meaning is like, do you want to know the meaning of the words? And so this is the thing, one of the things her parents, used to say to her.
Yeah.
She's never known the meaning.
Yeah,
exactly. And so having someone offer to tell the translation of it would be really like touching. But the thing is though, that the fact that it was the last thing the king of Manetheren said to his wife, that's really important to Lan. Like both of those things actually are it's very well done, but either of those characters would respond very strongly to what each other offered, and then they gave it both freely. And so...
I was thinking about what that actually was we shall go into the land so our children can hold us close and never feel alone. Thinking about that, right? Go into the land knowing that they would die. It's like he's saying, we'll go into the land so that our children can hold our memory and never feel alone.
Yeah.
Like, that's really touching when you think about it, because on a literal basis it makes no sense, because they knew they were going to die.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, it's quite beautiful.
Yeah. And you find out that Lan has obviously a connection with Manetheren, and that's where it's from, essentially.
Oh, he is?
Well, he was saying a prayer about it and stuff.
Correction, slip of the tongue, he has a connection with Malkier, not Manetheren.
Okay, so we find that out in this episode. And the fact that Nynaeve was showing respect to Manetheren by showing respect to the last thing that, like, Lan will respond positively to that, Nynaeve, and then, Nynaeve says, like, you're not at all what I expected, showing Nynaeve she's changing her view towards him, and then Lan says, you're exactly what I thought. This is in line with Lan's character as well, and we'll find out a bit later as well on that.
He likes it when ladies try to kill him? Because that is a big turn on.
Well,
it is
she snuck up on him.
Some men like strong women who can hold a sword.
But here's the thing, though, is that it's typically a confrontation. Like, the person, it's not like always a smooth thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, look at Nala and Simba, they had a fight. Look at Robb Stark and his missus, or Jon Snow and his missus. It's the hero when they meet their girl, they clash, and then they let the walls down.
The book shows fighting between people who are in a relationship, particularly one relationship, massively so, and it's done. There is actually a culture that in the book, and it should come up in the show, where it's all about conflict and fighting, and if you don't
from that family.
If you don't argue with someone back, you're not showing respect to them, and so they expect you to argue.
I want to go there.
It's great, and so the women from that culture are friggin' hilarious.
Nice.
And it's really good, really good.
They've got that in Texas people are like that too.
So look, some relationships progress more smoothly in the book than others.
Depending where you're from.
Also just who the person is as well. So, all right, discussion about something. And this, I'm not sure if the show could have really done a big stuff up in this episode. They say that they can't see men's weaves. So Moraine says, it's so odd, not seeing them. Moraine actually says something about, so strange not being able to see the waves. So they say it, right? But then there's a moment later in the episode where Logain is broken free and he launches like spikes of sardine. And one of the female Aes Sedai block the spikes. How?
That's a goof.
She can't see the weaves. The charitable interpretation is he was looking at them like he was doing some kind of attack. She couldn't see, didn't know what, so she just put up some random shield, but she literally reaches to protect the other two and not protect herself, and that's when she gets stabbed and killed. And so maybe Logain was looking at the other two, and so she thought the attack was only going to hit them, and because she couldn't see it hits all them all. But the fact that she reaches out and blocks really does look like she saw it incoming and blocked it.
Can Sardine make physical objects?
No.
So he can't condense it all into an actual physical thing.
Like, if he was to create fire, yes, they would see the fire. If he was to pick up something with air, he would see the thing. They can't see the weave specifically.
Okay, but no, but like, let's say he was
When I say they can't create manifest wooden pre-made.
Okay, that's what I meant. Like, he couldn't make like a little dagger that.
No.
Okay.
But it looks like the weaves themselves gained solidity and stabbed. Like they were like I don't know, spikes of air.
Yeah, like whatever venom has.
Yeah. And so some people have been saying that this is confirmed that the women can see the weaves. I actually think it's just a goof on the creator's behalf. Because Moraine says they can't see weaves, so they're saying it in the show. And then they just failed on the depiction at the end, or they're trying to hand wave it saying, oh, she just could preempt that some type of attack was happening. Because if I remember, like when a male Channer is fighting a female Channer, they just basically have to make a shield of air and just try and block everything and then try and read hand movements. Like if I do this, something might be coming in this direction, so I'm going to try and slap anything aside. And it's a bit fighting in the dark unless they start casting lightning and throwing fireballs that they can see. And so, yeah. By the way, like, some of the characters end up being able to detect when a woman is touching the source, but it's rare, only a few people do it, and they don't know what they're weaving, they just know you're touching the power or using the power, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so the general standard is that men cannot detect or see when women are channeling, same with women, with only the rarest of exceptions, and it's not much at all. It's like, I can just sense you touching. So, we'll see, like, yeah, it could be a goof, could not, well, yeah. There's a conversation out. It was Alana with an A, not an L. So I was saying Liana. It's Alana. She's the one. She's the green with the two waters, the lovey-dovey things. Okay, good conversation between Alana and Moraine, where Alana is like, I didn't think I'd be here at the last days, and even if this guy isn't the real dragon, his powers are close. And then she raises a really good point. This is actually really significant. It's like, what if the Red Aja gentled the dragon?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't have come to pass in terms of prophecy, would it? Well,
the thing is, though, the prophecy is basically the Dark One's going to destroy everyone, and the dragon's going to stop it, but the dragon also might destroy the world in the process. Or he will save the world and break the world from the Dark One, but it's pretty much guaranteed. The Dark One is going to be coming and invading and trying to destroy everyone. So this is actually a bit of a change, and if it is a significant change from the books, the Red Aja knew that the Dark One's coming. They never intended to gentle the dragon.
Okay.
Their intent in the books is to capture the dragon, keep him locked away at the tower in Tar Valon, so he can be kept safe and alive until the last battle. Okay. Their fear is that he will die before the last battle, and so they want to capture him.
Right.
Because if they gentle him, everyone kind of knows you're just screwing the world then.
Yeah.
So, in the show, are they saying that they want to gentle the dragon? Because that's like... No, it's not good.
Well, I think some of them do. The main Red Aja chick lady probably wants to. She probably doesn't care as much, because she doesn't just like women in general.
She might not be that stupid or vain, though,
Yeah, but...
I mean, it's weird. The Dark One, at this point... Well, in the books, it's not even shown in the show yet. The Dark One doesn't even want to kill the dragon yet. He wants, like... those dreams? The dreams are being done pretty poorly so far, including in this episode, because that guy who's appearing in the books is talking to them.
No.
And he actually is basically trying to browbeat them to join their side. If you don't join us, the Dark One will take your soul, kind of thing. But basically, the intent of the Dark One at this point is to lure the dragon onto his side. And so, stealing the dragon, not what the Dark One wants. Definitely not killing him yet, and so it's not shown in the show yet. We'll see if it even comes up, but that's an issue. If they like, because Alana says that, and I was like, "This is a significant conflict." We'll see what happens later on. But overall, it was a good character building scene between the two. They're showing that there's a previous knowledge relationship there. There's some interesting back and forth that shows again some of the politics happening behind the scene. Loghain pushes on the shield out. This is a reflection of his power that is kind of testing them, and both Moraine and Alana need to do their thing to get the shield back on. I like the way the shield looks. We'll talk about what the shield is supposed to be doing, and if, you know, something that happens later on is justified in the world building. But overall good scene. We go to Rand and Matt, farmer scene. I just got annoyed with the bows and the farmer ninjas that just appear out of nowhere.
Farmer ninjas.
They're farmer ninjas. It's like nothing there, and you look back, they're there. It's like, I've got a bow.
Because how many times people have just popped up in a scene? There was the white cloaks. They just walked, they stumbled in, and they were there.
Yeah.
There was another time as well where someone popped up.
I can't remember.
But yeah, people just keep popping up sometimes in these scenes.
Well, it certainly happened here.
Yeah.
Like just ninja farmers, and is holding the bow at full draw for way too long.
That's where it would have been cool, where they have the angle of the three guys. If you see the wife and kid walk up behind them, and then it cuts to them there. Little details like that would have been really cool.
Maybe they're just Batman. You know? I mean, if there was one of the kids left after the parents were killed, that'd make more sense.
Just as I'm an archer, okay, I actually shoot pretty heavy, you know, poundage bows at war bow range, 100 pound, 110, and so I know a thing or two. Rand has this interesting line, it's like, if you were intending to kill me, you wouldn't be gripping the bowstring like that.
Here we go.
I can't tell if that was satisfied or not.
No, it's very, I was like, you're saying that, look, over clenching the string is a thing that unexperienced people do a lot, but releasing an arrow from full draw, even over stringing, will kill someone just as much, Rand. It's not a point of cleverness that you're pointing out. It's not like someone can't shoot when they're over clinching it.
If someone said that to me, I'd do it just to show it.
It's like,
Screw
really?
you, bang!
Really? And so it's like, oh, there's a big fail in terms of just accurate technique of how things are supposed to work. Now, true technique is, you know, you hold it on the end of it, but, and like I said, news do, but you can still kill someone just as much. And then it's like, but I wouldn't be intending to kill you if I didn't point you out, like, point that out. This is not clever writing.
Why would that...
Because...
But I am going to kill you later is what I'm thinking. Like,
But it's right...
no, seriously, that makes no sense now that I think about it.
It's dumb. It's very dumb. It's like, the show's going great, and it's like, oh, gosh, don't do this to me. You were showing signs. But then it actually does pick up, because I've already talked about Tom Maryland's background,
Yeah.
really good. There's a great scene with Matt and the little girl.
Yeah.
Matt, something...
At first, I found it very creepy the way that Matt came across.
Honestly,
Really?
yeah.
When he was like,
Yeah.
oh, hey.
Hello, little girl.
Like, if I was that kid.
You can trust me.
You didn't want to steal her doll. That was nice.
Yeah, but... No, what was the
Weird if
comment?
it's like,
I
give me
made a
that.
comment about it. I was like... Yeah, Matt's moment... Like, it was good writing at the end.
Yeah,
but the initial contact was like, your mum said you should go inside, why haven't you? Like... Ugh.
Okay.
You're right, yeah. But it shows something going on with Matt.
Yeah.
Okay. And so Tom says that he is might be starting to channel. I guess showing all the signs and everything. Again, this is the show trying to make it. Who's the dragon people?
Yeah. Mystery.
Yeah.
I thought it was Matt, and then you said no, it wasn't. Basically.
When did I say that?
Well, using your words without using your words. You know.
I don't know what you're talking
You're like,
about.
that's what you say. Like, is it Matt? You're like, I'm not saying. Is it Rand? I'm still not saying. Is it Perrin?
It could be.
Wait, no, you say you didn't mention Perrin, so it's definitely not Perrin.
Is it?
Got that? It's not Perrin.
You didn't mention Rand.
I did.
Did you?
I did. I said, is it Matt? You're like, no. Is it Rand? No. You didn't mention Perrin.
Well,
And now
did
we're
you
saying,
mention
is it what's her name? Egwene.
Egwene,
Is it
or is it
Egwene?
Nynaeve? You know, brighter than the burning sun. So the thing is, the amount I can't give spoilers, but there is a sign in this episode by what they're doing, which actually confirms that they're not going to change the dragon.
Okay.
They're purposely trying to trick the audience.
but you should hold it that they still might, because otherwise, when they do, and I really believe they will, it's going to be devastating for you. You will keep screaming.
I will, but I will put money on it to know they're not going to change the dragon.
You will raise a volcano from the ground.
I will.
You will be the dragon.
If they do, I will become the dragon. But I'm telling you, they won't. And if you think that this episode is trying to say, see, they are going to change, it's actually no. The amount of attempts that they're trying to confuse who the dragon is evidence that they're not going to, because they want you to be confused.
Okay, it could go either way, but whatever, man, it's complicated. I'm just a guy from the south side of Chicago.
I just, that moment when Tom says how his nephew, after he was gentle, just picked up a knife, just being bored, and cut his throat and yawning at the same time. But that was pretty powerful. It was it was delivered. I visualized it, and it demonstrates how devastating gentling really is. It's a cruel thing. I'm
just thinking, the entire family witnesses this at the dinner table, and I'm just like, you guys never like my dinners.
I'll give you that. Well done. Okay, and then that great line, nothing more dangerous than a man that knows the past.
Love that one, because it's true.
Yep. We go to the warden scene. We've already kind of discussed it already, but it made the wardens seem very human, just how they're interacting there. It's funny, the wardens in the book actually are depicted more stoic and standoffish, hard to relate to and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I like more. I actually do. I have to admit, I like that they're showing the wardens as people with their own kind of opinions, and they're shown as equals to the Aes Sedai, and they're humanized, and so we're gonna feel something for them if something happens to them.
To be fair,
I do like that, but I also like the stoic wardens are like these unapproachable, mysterious nutcase warriors that have their own kind of clique.
And I feel like that's more realistic, because think about bodyguards in real life. They're like that.
They are.
Stay away from my person. This is my person. Get your own.
It's like they're trying to maintain a
perimeter.
A mystique, a reputation of mystery and danger. And the wardens, I feel, kind of fed off that and like that in the book. We don't get that, and so some people probably really hate it. I have to admit, I can see value in both, so don't know. It's, again, because this is one of those things, if they change something from the book, if it's worse, why did you change it? Objectively worse. But this is where I was like, it's a change, but I can see it working in some way. So if they make a change that is as good or an improvement, I'll give it credit. I was still on the fence on this one, granted. And so the line where Nynaeve says, but you serve them, showing Nynaeve doesn't like them, and then, there's the actual meaning of Aes Sedai is servants of all, and then it's what does that make you? She's kind of implying you're just servants of them. But that if they're servants of the Aes Sedai and servants of all, who's serving who? That's kind of what the implication. And then Lan just says, when Nynaeve says, what does that make you? And Lan says, proud. It's it's a good, these are the warders defending their position as a place of honor, not to be belittled or looked down upon, even though Nynaeve thinks you're just a glorified lapdog. Yeah. It's no, the warders, don't underestimate them.
Okay, but the thing is, if I'm sitting around having a good time with people, and then they just insult my profession, I'll be like, screw you, go away.
So you reckon that reflected bad on Nynaeve?
On Nynaeve, yeah. It's we're all having a great time. You serve them, though.
But I think it shows Nynaeve doesn't like Aes Sedai. She just trusts them. Well, she blames Moraine for taking away the Emmonsfielders. I'm almost I get the impression, I don't think this is said even explicitly in the books, but she kind of blames Moraine for the Trollocs attacking. If she didn't come, maybe the Trollocs wouldn't have followed her.
Well, how does she feel about the Trollocs?
She hates the Trollocs as well, don't get me wrong. But she does not like that Moraine took the Emmonsfielders away from the village. She thinks that is wrong, that they need to go home with their families and stuff.
Question though, who killed all the Trollocs? Basically, who drove them off?
I get it.
I'd be thankful for that at least.
So you don't think Nynaeve's distrust is justified?
Exactly.
I think it's it's in line with the books. So maybe that's why I'm easy to give it a pass. I can't look at it.
Although it could be like Vietnam, sure the Viet Cong moved in, but it's not as good even when the Americans come through and liberate a village, like Afghanistan or something. So
because Moraine did kind of half destroy the village.
Did come through like an American. We might have got rid of the enemy. We destroyed you in a bunch of houses, but mission accomplished. We got him.
I think it was really good, the scene when Moraine says we lost them, and then Lan says it's my fault. I was no, it's not your fault. Great scene. Shows shows their relationship really well. They're a partnership. It wasn't just with Moraine and Lan, it was with the other Waters and Aes Sedai, that these are good relationships where, a man and a woman are working together, not one domineering the other. I'm really happy with it, honestly.
Yeah, it's sweet to see, actually.
It's amazing, isn't it?
You say, well, yeah, they work together. No one's above each other.
No one's belittling the other.
Yeah.
Do as you're told.
That sounds
like
like
actual
hobby
teamwork.
talk to me. Everyone equal? I don't like that.
In a relationship, there
Nah.
should be.
There's always a winner and a loser.
He doesn't believe it.
My middle name should have been McCarthy.
Okay, so he says, you always get emotional when I drink, referring to the water bond, that some certain, interplay happens when something physically affects one another.
Okay.
Yeah, he's referring to the water bond. It's like, when I get a bit drunk, you get a bit emotional kind of thing. Yeah. So, it goes back to the Tinkers. We've already kind of talked a lot about what we liked in the Tinkers thing. But there's some good world building about the song. The Tinkers looking for the song. Arim, the young guy, okay. It's good that he's getting some screen time because he does appear later in the story. And so that's good. There is a bit of a difference. In the book, Perrin does not like Arim. Arim was really trying to snuggle up with Egwene. He's flirting with her in the book. He's trying to get Egwene to basically stay with him and go with them.
Good on Perrin.
And Perrin hates it.
Good on him for sticking up for his bro.
He gets defensive. He is protective of Egwene, and he doesn't like Arim. We don't see any of that in the show at the moment.
We'll
Actually,
see it in the next one, I reckon.
You reckon?
Because I think right now they're kind of off doing their own thing, and they'll come back and then...
Well, I hope they, like I said, my prediction, they need to get attacked.
Yeah.
Get attacked!
I think the
Let
guy...
the Tinkers die! Look, I want it for the character progression.
Wow.
I like the Tinkers, okay?
I think the guy playing Arim, he's doing a great job. I think he's doing a better job than the other 5.
He's got more personality, though. He's
Yeah,
like
that's my point.
he's the happiest guy we've seen in the show so
Yeah.
far.
So he's a good actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring some,
It's like Matt should have been that jovial at the beginning, but it's just like,
"Meh, I'm gonna romp you.
Mr. Disney.
Give me your doll too, it's mine now. I'm gonna drop it outside.
But it's funny, Matt should have started happy and then get depressed because of things. But yeah, so Matt's a fail.
Because of things.
Well, you see things happening. Things
I
are
see
happening
many
with Matt.
things happening.
I see things
Of
of
green,
black
red
coming out
roses
of his
bloom.
mouth, and darkness creeping to destroy the whole world.
And I think
Think
to myself,
what a turning of the wheel.
what an awful world.
Christmas album this year.
Oh, yes. That's a skit we should do.
Look, shows Perrin fixing things, blacksmith. Okay, so he's referred to a blacksmith. Where this is like the first blacksmithy mild thing. He's hitting something with a hammer.
He put a peg into a hole.
No,
you
he
know?
put a wheel back on.
I mean, yeah,
Tinkers
but-
need more colour in their clothing. The wagons look great, but the clothing is too dirty and muddy, and you don't see how bright. it
Well,
should
I mean, they're wearing plaid stuff, aren't they?
be.
Like-
There is a really good, again, progression, natural dialogue where they need to introduce the Way of the Leaf, and so instead of just someone coming to Perrin, hey, have you heard of the Way of the Leaf? Perrin's like, why are we on this, random road? Why can't we go on a main road? Good question. Natural observation from where they are. Arim replies, oh, there's too many soldiers and bandits on the road that, can harm us and stuff like that. Then Perrin's like, there's heaps of you here. Surely you have enough to defend yourself. Natural response, natural progression of dialogue. And then, do you see many weapons here? Why don't you have weapons? Way of the Leaf, perfectly introduced. Natural progression of discussion from a clear observation that Perrin has. Good. This is good writing.
They could have done it better, though. What if a lone bandit came out of the woods and started stabbing someone, and everyone just kept walking forward calmly?
What are you doing? Perrin's like, what?
And then the bandit moves on to another victim. We'll get away. We have plenty of people.
Of course, their Tinkers would react. They'd scream. They'd run. They'd try and hide. Back to Matt. They have the weird dream, and the dreams are failing, in my opinion, so far. What are the dreams to you at the moment? Because they're just like random things with Fireface Man going.
Yeah,
"Wah!"
basically.
No, that is literally that.
Yeah.
Random things with Fireface Man.
And you don't know what the significance or symbology is of what's happening. You see Perrin hitting something, a corpse. Is it his wife? We don't see.
I assume it's his wife. But why would he be dreaming that? Oh, because they're magic dreams.
Well, the Dark One doesn't know who the dragon is. In the book, he knows it's one of the boys, but in the show they're going to show it's one of the 5. But the thing is, I didn't see Egwene or Nynaeve in this dream.
Yeah.
Was it?
Egwene was in the dream.
Was she?
She was.
Okay, my bad.
She was the one that was screaming, and then the Dark One grabbed her.
Ah, all right. Well, there we go. But anyway, so the Dark One doesn't know who, and that's why he's trying to get into the dreams of them all. But he's doing nothing. Like in the books, he was talking, scaring, manipulating. He's just like a jump scare fireface man now.
Literally that. Tell you what though, if I'm sleepy one night and you just like.
What's the end game though? There was actual logic to the other one. Wake up, Matt's not there. Goes into the village and I like the conflict that's established here. That technically this poor farming family just got slaughtered because these guys needed a place to sleep. It's not their fault, but is it their, like, they knew the Fade was after them, but the thing is, it's kind of in the book as well. Matt and Rand know a Fade is chasing them, but they still need help sometimes, and they get, like, a farmer to give them a ride, and they help other people along the way.
I'm just picturing, right, the Fade sneaks into the house, it's empty, and then the dad comes out of nowhere.
It's a ninja family! You failed your ninja skills! Come on!
Man.
But, so... We all got the impression that Matt had killed them first.
Yeah, I thought that.
Now, I'm assuming that was intentional from the show. They wanted to misdirect about it. Oh, it wasn't really Matt. It was the Fade. And Matt was just detecting it. He was in the weird trance. It's like, I see you.
I see you.
And then, okay, so Tom, he starts throwing out the daggers. Man, I tell you what, like, Matt and Rand, they are pretty cowardly so far.
Run! They ran away from the bowman.
I can't... Running from a Fade, I can forgive, all right? But they're always running. Like, if they showed him maybe blocking, maybe trying to do an attack, and, like, the Fade just disintegrates their weapon or something, like, run! like, it's not working. But... just give them some backbone where they try and resist a bit.
It's like Finn from Star Wars. Just runs and screams.
Ray! And Tom, of course, he cool dagger to be Tom. Like Tom, if they made him accurate and still had like that cool dialogue with his son, and then you didn't like if they didn't show Tom as like this gruff, cool guy, but then at this point where he actually shows he's got knives, and you saw it was already really tricky with his hands. They could have done traditional Tom and made him still a badass like the books, and it would have been great.
Yeah.
But in terms of what Tom's doing, it's cool that he defends them. So question, what do you think happens to Tom now?
Well, he fought a Fade, so unless he's Viggo Mortensen, he's dead.
I reckon he survived. They've put too much into his character, and he said before, like, he's going to stay with them.
It could work if Tom acted more like a mentor, because the mentor is meant to get killed.
This is a criticism that people have. Like, they're now separated from Tom. Tom was actually supposed to teach him some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like, he teaches Rand how to play the flute, and that sticks with Rand, and he tries to keep playing the flute and stuff. He teaches Matt how to use, daggers and stuff.
But he didn't feel like a mentor that much.
No, he just was there.
He was there helping
He was helping him, but he didn't teach him anything, and they missed that. I feel that's a failure. There should have been more teaching from Tom, because
you do kill the mentor. You do kill the mentor. Obi-Wan, Dumbledore. You do kill the mentor.
We'll see. I know what's going to happen according to the books if they're true to the books, but
I just think with this one, if you haven't seen a dead body, they're still alive.
You reckon?
Yeah.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah. Yeah, that works for me. It's the Game of Thrones rule. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I won't spoil anything, so we'll keep moving on.
He's dead, isn't he?
Yeah. He's dead. He's dead forever. Damn it.
Now we come to the attack on the Aes Sedai camp. Okay, so couple of things. This things I like. This things I'm questioning. I like that this shows there's still like it's not just they captured Logain, everyone gives up. He still has influence and power. He's got an army backing him. They didn't forget about it. We'll talk about the execution, but I like that they were still attacked. They explain how Logain was captured. They snuck into his camp and shielded him and took him away. And then with enough lightning bolts, the army scattered around him. Okay, I think that could work. Some people show, is it too easy for him and stuff? But Aes Sedai, by the way, they can make like a ward that blocks sound. And so they could make a ward that blocks around them, so they could hear their footprints within the ward, but anything outside, they could block the sound traveling further. So that could help. They can help their stealth. In terms of full-blown invisibility, I don't think Aes Sedai at this point in the story can't do it, and I don't even believe it comes up much in the show at all. But I think, look, they could use their powers to sneak in, shield him. That's justified, and then they scare everyone off with the lightning bolts. Okay, that could work.
Yeah.
Then they explain how Logain is captured, but he's got an army backing him, a whole kingdom, in fact. All right. Was it big enough? They said it's an army attacking him. How many guys is it? 50?
Felt like 50, yeah. And they weren't in any sort of formation. They were just running, screaming.
Yeah.
They looked like bandits.
Yeah, exactly. It was more like bandits. This is the thing. This is why I'm conflicted. I loved the actual fight, of the magic fighting. I think the actual showing the Aes Sedai cut loose and blow some things up was great. In terms of the water fighting, it was too choppy and quick. You saw some more slow motion shots of things, but I like they showed a range of weapons. One warder is using a shield and sword, one's a bow, Land's got his big thing. I hate those double axes, of course. But they showed a variety of weapons in the water. That was cool. And the warders were protecting Aes Sedai a lot. I really liked that. In terms of the size, it didn't feel like an army. And you'd think if you're going up against Aes Sedai and you know you're actually attacking Aes Sedai, you would want an army. But the thing is, Aes Sedai can kind of, they even say, an army is no match for 6 sisters.
7.
7, right? So, it's funny, they didn't, maybe budgetary constraints is the real thing. They tried to hide most of the army in the trees, maybe that's why they went to the trees. But there were some really cool moments. Granted, even amidst the confusion of how many people would be, is there a way to justify it? But I can't, because is it a scouting party and the army was separated looking for him? But if you found the Aes Sedai camp, you're going to go back and get as many friggin' people as you can, because they are friggin' Aes Sedai. And just going in with a small number would be suicide. But they did it. They almost killed one, but she ends up getting healed. So is it a close battle? In terms of Aes Sedai power level, I've also seen some discussion debate that the Aes Sedai were depicted both too powerfully and too weak. I'm on the side where I was actually quite happy with their power level, and I almost think in some cases they weren't depicted as powerful enough. Because Alana is known to be pretty darn tough, and she's one of the ones that can shield Logain and everything. And Aes Sedai, when they are aware, they can do some really wide affecting spells that can, a swath of fire that can burn 50 people in front of them straight and stuff. And that's just one Aes Sedai, right? And so when they really want to cut loose, they can do serious damage. And so I almost think that they struggled too much with the amount of people they're fighting.
Yeah, there's a part near the end of the fight. Well, obviously everyone leaves and Lana takes care of the rest. I think that was the off-screen moment where they probably did all that. But there's a funny bit where she uses her power and then both her warders do this, pose, and it's the 3 of them. I'm like, there aren't any army men around you, and you just exploded the dirt. But
yeah, but pose.
Yeah, it was pause for effect.
But my pose.
It's for the screen. So, yeah, it wasn't perfect, and there was some janky kind of choreography on the fighting, but overall, I found it dynamic and enjoyable and action-packed, and I think it was a good scene. On balance, I quite enjoyed it. Budgetary constraints, I would have liked it to be bigger, they're really seriously trying to get
other
the
Amazon
game.
shows have done it. And it looks convincing in the exact same circumstance. You've seen Carnival Row, right?
No, I haven't.
The very first episode shows people being chased through the woods by an army, and it's almost identical, and it looked great. It looked like they were being pursued by an army of men.
Okay. Logain then breaks out. This is great. I've also, because I try to pay attention to what the discussion is around certain episodes, trying to avoid spoilers, and after I watched it, I wanted to see what some people were saying, and I have come across a criticism that if he could break out then, he could have broken out at any time. Why did he do it then? And I think this makes perfect sense, because if he broke out, there's only 2 sisters shielding him. Where is he going to go? You think he can escape the other Aes Sedai and he has to fight through? If it was really smart. It seemed like he knew that he was going to have a rescue attempt. He waits for the time of confusion and chaos, and then that's when he cuts loose and bursts open the shield.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even could he have done it at any time? It's almost like he was trying to wear them down. Maybe he couldn't have beforehand, but by making them fatigued and tired and get their guard down, because it showed that when he pushes against it with Moraine and Alana, they needed to counteract and put more force into their shield to maintain it.
Yeah.
And so that kind of then, I think, is a good setup to imply that if he pushes really hard against the shield and they're not ready for it to increase the strength of their counter shield, he could break through before they're aware.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. You wear your enemy down.
Yes.
They're attacked from within and without.
Mm-hmm. And they're distracted because of what's happening. There's chaos. And it's the best time for him to get free because he's got allies right there who want to free him. And so, really good. I love it. It was a great moment. And then it also shows how his strength is pretty darn tough. He bursts through that shield and they were struggling for it. He knocks out she seemed to have been the leader. She was the older, more round Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
Knocked out her and knocked out Leandrin. And then he's about to get free and Moraine comes in. And I think this is really clever on Moraine's part. She manipulates him and stalls.
Yeah, why should I believe you're the dragon?
Exactly.
Instead of like, you're not.
But she doesn't even lead with that. She says, we only have a short amount of time to talk before the others come. I mean, this is perfect manipulation because it's implying I could actually be here to help you, but I need to know something. And so it's actually a really good line to get, because from Logain's perspective, he would want allies, mate. Why is this...
Especially the Aes Sedai.
An Aes Sedai not coming to attack me straight away? This is weird. And so he falls for it. And then she starts like, why should I believe you're the dragon? Because this is the thing. Moraine, in her character, this isn't contrary. If Logain is the dragon, Moraine's going to be trying to help him. Okay? And so... Why should I believe you? It's an honest inquiry, really, even though she doesn't really believe it. But Logain falls for it. He tells her why he believes it, and Moraine gets exactly the stall she needs for the other Aes Sedai and Leandrin to wake up, and they both bang onto the shield.
All three of those ladies banged that one guy.
They did. They jumped on him, and they just tried to pound him hard. I mean, with the shields. With the magic power. Magic power.
Yeah. Sus.
Yeah. And so we get to this kind of standoff. He shoots back. That's where the questioning thing of, did someone see the weaves or not? I think this is a failing, not an acknowledgement that, the power's one and the same. We'll see. We'll see more and we'll be able to make a proper determination on further evidence. At the moment, I think that was just a mistake, or they didn't sell it right, where they were just trying to make that the other Aes Sedai sensed an attack. She gets killed, though. The water senses it. Great reaction, showing, because waters, they actually do legitimately lose their mind a bit when they're Aes Sedai. And Aes Sedai have a real hard trouble when their water dies, but waters... They can go a bit crazy for a short time, and some often just go on if it's in a battle, they go on a suicide bloodlust attack for whoever's attacking, because the emotions are too much. And so
he certainly did that.
Well, he comes running in, he sees her dead, and at first I was wondering, is he reacting as confirmation that she's dead? Is like, no, because the water bond one should tell him he knows she's dead, but his reaction is figuring out who did it. And he looks to Logain, he knows he's the one, he knows she's already dead, and that's when he snaps and he just tries to kill her. And now we have a bit of a question, a bit of a discussion on the interaction between physical things and weaves and magic and stuff. This is the books, to my understanding. No physical thing can interact with a weave. You can't cut a weave with a sword unless you had, say, a special enchanted sword that was made for the purpose. But just normal things can't interact with weaves, right? He goes to attack Logain. So technically, the axes should just go straight through the shield. The shield isn't going to stop the axes. So as soon as they pass through the shield, though, that's trying to close, Logain can channel within the shield.
That's what I was thinking.
So Logain can block the axes with the shield. That's all fine. Then something weird happens. Logain then uses the axes, which are half through the shield, as a way to move his own power, the Saidar power, through the axes and get outside the shield, which is implying the axes created a small opening in the shield that he could utilize and get through the shield by going through the axes. And to my knowledge, that is against the world building, because the axes should technically have no physical interaction with the shield to make that opening that you could pass through the axes to get through the shield.
There are some things it could have been, though.
Yeah.
Potentially, and look, I'm playing devil's advocate here. So what he could have done is, so obviously if the axes could pass through the shield, it's the own guy inside the shield that's stopping it with his power, right? What if he kept his own shield up over the axes and then exploded the axes to make the shrapnel go out?
Yeah, so what it could have done, he could have done an enchantment on the axes, because part of the axe was in the shield, and because he enchants that part of the axe, the enchantment then moves through the axe. It's not really his power, but it's the effect of the enchantment.
Well, what more I was thinking is that maybe the axe explosion is what caused... Because if the shield isn't reacting to anything physical, but it's his shield stopping the axe, then the shrapnel from an exploding axe could go out of the shield.
It could, yes.
So it could have been that.
Yeah. So there are ways to explain it. Just looked a bit... Is this the power moving through the shield because they're...
Yeah.
But if you interpret it that he's actually doing something to the axes that's within his shield that infects the axe as a whole, and it's just the enchantment that's moving out... and yeah, that could work.
It's a bit of a stretch either way.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I felt like Gaines' power in melting his cage was a bit over the top. Like he's literally disintegrating matter. That's huge, powerful. Like that's like anyone attacking me, I can disintegrate your armor, your sword. It's like that's an. I haven't seen that weave in the book. But is it in line? Because is this Gaines one of his strengths that he can manipulate physical matter, because he destroyed his cage and then he destroyed the guy's axes, also metal, so maybe this could be a strength that he has, that destroys metal. But anyway, the metal shrapnel basically kills everyone. And the land's throat is squirting blood. That's all pretty real.
Everyone's dying.
Then Nynaeve comes in, and it's all like, this is a great scene. The pacing of it, the emotion, the build-up.
I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that she heals everyone at once.
It's a leap in power. I totally agree.
I would have liked it if it was just like Lan who got the most of the brunt of the damage, and then she healed Lan. That would have been cool.
Yeah, it's funny. This is weird. This is one of those times when my exposure to the books makes me more forgiving of the show, because of the background I know of Nynaeve, how powerful she is, and other things.
But people are just getting stabbed and healed willy-nilly. Like, it happened... Like, Moraine, literally, the episode starts with her getting healed, then she gets stabbed again and then healed again.
Nynaeve, healing by the Aes Sedai is very... Like, it's great. They can heal a lot. Some Aes Sedai don't have a talent with healing, and they can barely heal spit. Some Aes Sedai, that's their biggest strength. They're master healers. Nynaeve, you can guess what her strength is.
But I get it, right? Yeah. But just to have it happen so...
Yeah, it was a huge display of power, and they're leaping forward with it. I think there's ways you can explain it. For me, I can let it, I can justify it more easily if this was a rare burst of power, very emotional. There are contradictions because she should have been touching the power for a long time already. She's been weaving healing through her poultices naturally. But if the show is saying this is the first time and it's the burst and whatever...
Well, if they justified it by saying, by early in one of the episodes, they'd said, when we discover our powers, it comes out in a great burst.
Or, exactly. There could have been way better setup with it. Even, not always, just sometimes when, the exchange between Egwene and Moraine early on with the gem, she's like, we have to be careful when you touch the power. Sometimes it can be destructive. Sometimes there's a great burst of power, so I'm going to be here to help you do it. That would perfect build up. It would establish it. Or another way is Nynaeve actually healed Moraine, and Elena's questioning, you shouldn't have been able to do that, and that's a hint that Nynaeve is already channeling and using the power. But then that wouldn't justify a burst. But still, so overall though, I did like it. It was very, and then this is where a good part of the show comes in, where the Aes Sedai basically justified, from their perspective, in gentling Logain.
I'd say before that.
You would say even before that. And I really like that they were showing a logical argument for the Red Aja, not just making them out as whole massive villains. I was like, it's kind of a point. But I also like that they gave Logain sympathy, and he legitimately thinks he's the dragon. He's trying to do what he thinks is right.
Yeah.
And then if he's trying to do something that's right, he has these magical women coming in, taking away his freedom. They would be his enemy. If you are trying to lock me away, take away my freedom against my will, and I don't acknowledge your authority or power to do it.
I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I know. You know
Based.
it, yeah. Logain, they're his enemy. Logain would fight back. And so I
It's
like
reasonable
that
to fight back, isn't it?
There's justified reasons on both sides, and from the Red Aja and him. But then now he's basically killed sister, so
Yep, there you go. Bang.
sisters link with me. They link, and look, the linking scene is pretty awesome. Like, there's a big power-up scene. Leandrin drops that questionable line, but it is Leandrin, you know.
What's the line? Oh, yeah.
If you had to take away the power that nature never intended for you.
I still find that fun.
That better not be like the canon.
That's probably my favourite
And
line.
you know, really, the other sisters should be pushing back on this, like, because that's an extremist, aggressive interpretation of the one power.
So you want them to stop mid-battle and be like, hey, that's
No,
offensive.
not after, but like, there's so much just like, even in another scene or something like that, where Leandrin says something like, the one power was meant for men. It was the dark one that corrupted it. Stop trying to...
Yeah, I reckon her privilege should be checked as well.
Yes.
But, like, you know, they're kind of split off into their own sections, you know, so it's like...
You're right. Check Leandrin's privilege,
Check her
please.
privilege.
Check her privilege. And that's the end of the episode.
That's it, that's the Wheel of Time.
You know, one good bit I liked though was when they were whatchamacallit?
Fighting.
Not fighting,
Battle.
not channeling
Linking.
him. When they were
Shielding.
when they took his power away.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
gentling.
yeah, the gentling scene.
Yeah, when they were gentling him, 2 tears came
Yeah,
out
like,
as that happened.
it-
and it was like
it's-
painful for him to
Oh,
lose
yeah,
it.
man.
They made him sympathetic. And,
Yeah.
and because this episode just has very good setups and payoffs and structures. They already explained what it's like for a guy to be gentle because of Tom Scene. Now we know what Logain is going through, and Logain isn't a wholly evil person, and so there's great conflict that they're showing. This is like actually reaching into some of the greatness that is in the Wheel of Time, and if they do that, they have a golden gem that they have in a show. And this is the only time they've really reached that for me so far. So there we go. This is Wheel of Time episode 4. Honestly, I would give it an 8 or a 9.
Oh, man, I'd give it a 5 or a 6. I'm going to see with a 5.
Really? Okay,
The show is slowly starting to win me back. Slowly, but there's a lot of problems.
see, this is the thing, right? It hasn't won me back still.
Oh, okay.
I'm still very skeptical. We will see episode 5 now, and we'll see where it goes. Because the thing is, if they were capable of something half decent, what went wrong in the first 3 episodes then?
Yeah.
I mean, and so far, there's a small sign of, you could call it hope, but if I was to take it on the whole, there's more evidence that it's going to be what we saw before than what we've seen now.
I hope.
So we'll see, we'll see. Look, I want a good show. I want it to be good, but if it's crap, you know, we'll call it out. But that also, if it's good, we're going to acknowledge it. There we go. Thank you for joining us on this very in-depth and important watch. And so, remember, be ever watchful. Actually, I'm going to do that, because that felt cringe.
Be ever watchful.
Be ever watchful. Like, stay
Keep watching.
Keep watching. I like it. Yes.
Keep watching.
There we go. Until next time, people. Keep the watch. Ooh. Keep the watch.
I mean, like, if I steal someone's watch, I'm going to keep it.
Well, keep. I don't know.
Watch
You
it.
do it, Nathan. Go.
Stay watchful. Keep watching.
Like and subscribe so
Like
you can
it.
keep watching.
Just like this video because no one else will see it.